Hello everybody, Flamin' Shark back with another video, and I am really excited to be here for the finale of Danganronpa 0. Now we're at 83%. Last time, if I'm remembering correctly, we read 18% in the previous chapter. It was a previous episode, episode 7. It was a long episode. So we read 18%, and we have 17% left. So presumably, this episode should be a relatively similar length episode to the previous one, because we are going to keep going until we finish this story. And for those of you who aren't aware, once we finish Danganronpa 0, the next Danganronpa video will be Danganronpa If, the If story that you unlock when you beat Danganronpa 2. So we'll be back in the kind of regular format. We'll be in an actual game, full screen, all that good stuff, and I probably won't have to be adding an OST or anything like that. It's going to be a lot easier for me. I'll get to do it with a controller as well, because it'll be in the game. It'll be the first time I'll get to use my PS5 controller in a video, because when I played Danganronpa 1 and Danganronpa 2, I didn't have a PS5 yet. At that time, I was using a PS4 controller, but just the way that my setup is for the Let's Plays and reads and these type of recordings, it's just so much easier to use a controller than it is. I don't know, I just prefer using a controller to a mouse, even if I'm doing something as simple as just clicking. But yeah, I'm really excited to finish this story. This story has been great, and as Ryoko said herself at the end of chapter 10, she is looking for her ideal happy ending. And while I don't think it's going to be Ryoko's ideal happy ending, I certainly think I'm going to be smiling by the end of this episode. You guys know what I think is going to happen. I think over the course of this final episode, she's going to realize who she really is. Either possibly because Matsuda's going to tell her, or possibly other factors. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen. But she's going to find out that she's actually Junko Enoshima. And Yasuke Matsuda is probably going to die in the process, or become a despair. I think it's a lot more likely he dies, because you do run into the issue of... Now, it's possible he comes up in Danganronpa 3. Or even... he could even come up in another episode, to be honest. But, hypothetically speaking, he's gonna come up in this... I think it makes the most sense to kill off Matsuda, because I think that's the cleanest option here. Obviously, there's characters in this story that we know show up in the games that happen after this, of course, because this is DR0. So, with those characters, it's easy. The big thing is how do we take care of Otonashi and Matsuda? And in the case of Otonashi, she's probably Enoshima. She's probably Junko Enoshima. So, if that's the case, that takes care of her. So then it's just, what do we do with Matsuda? How do we get him out of the way so that we don't run into weird, questions about the plot for the stuff that happened after this? And the simplest answer is he probably is going to die at the end of the story. And it's going to be really sad. He's possibly going to be killed by Ryoko. It's going to be crazy. And however they do it, I'm so excited. And I can't wait. And it's also something that's been overdue. I've been wanting to finish this story for a long time, and we're finally here. And it feels like I'm actually making progress in the Let's Play department. We're actually getting close to potentially actually getting into another Let's Play, because I'm assuming the If story I'll get through in less than 8 episodes. I'm assuming that's not going to be as long as Danganronpa 0 was. I mean, Danganronpa 0 ended up being a little longer than I expected as well. But I guess we're going to have to find out. So all I can do now is just jump in, but let's get into this finale. I'm actually recording this at 6 at night. I'm actually going to record this however long it takes, and then I'll have a late dinner, take a shower. I'll probably edit this video, before the shower, either before or after dinner, but before the shower. And then after all that, I'll get this video up and ready. And then I'm going to actually record some other videos. Isn't that a crazy thought? Anyways, let's jump in to Chapter 11 of Volume 2 of Danganronpa 0. Huh? Rain? I noticed it while entering the district's central garden, so for the record, she's going to go see her Matsuda after she's heading towards the old school building in the North District. So we're gonna see where this goes. I noticed it while entering the district's central garden, having made my way there from the back garden of the biology building. It seemed rain had begun falling at some point, not hard, but strong enough for the sounds of it hitting the trees and grass to be heard. But this level of rain won't be enough to stop me. As the cold rain engulfed my body... Sorry, I was just taking out my headphones because I don't need them. I aimed towards the lined-up school buildings and dashed off from the East District's central garden. Either due to the rain or because it was possibly class hours, there weren't many students to be seen in the central garden. There were some, though, some students running as if fleeing from the rain, and others who were calmly walking with their umbrellas. As I ran ahead at full speed without any kind of protection from the elements, I must have received some odd looks from them all. This kind of thing would normally have nothing to do with me, but for some reason, this particular time, I felt a bit annoyed. I felt a violent irritation develop as those people standing from a safe place watched me, as if examining some kind of swelling tumor. Even so, I continued to tell myself that it had nothing to do with me as I ran straight through the central garden. Continuing at the same rate, I eventually exited the East District and ended up at the Central Plaza, where once again I caught sight of groups of students. Most likely they were heading back to their dormitories in the South District. Different colored umbrellas in hand, they seemed to enjoy chatting with each other as they slowly walked down the path. I'm in a water-guzzling mood, so I'm probably have to go through a couple rounds of my water bottle while we go through this. Like I said, what will likely be a long episode because we're going until we finish it. Glancing at them from the edge of my vision, I dashed off from the pavement once more. There probably wasn't any clear-cut road leading to the North District's old school building from where I was, so unless I cut through the Central Plaza, I wouldn't be able to proceed. The grass at my feet was damp, and puddles began developing here and there as well. It's the most cliche of symbolism. It's raining, which is certainly an omen for what's to come in this episode. Reaching the now half-vacant North District, my figure soon found itself free from the eyes of others. On a rainy day like this, there wouldn't be many people in the area at all. The grass at my feet became more and more bare as I proceeded, and the number of trees began to decrease as well. Eventually, the area around me almost felt like a wasteland. After progressing through the wasteland for a bit, a man-made structure came into view. I see. As I looked up at the building, I began to slow my running pace. Hope's Peak Academy's old school building. Its solemn appearance alone didn't give the impression that it was some abandoned building, but having not done so for quite a while, I checked out Ryoko Otonashi's memory notebook. That's the other thing, her memory's getting better, which could be because there's multiple possibilities as to why that could be. Obviously, it could be because she's starting to realize who she really is. It could be because Matsuda has actually been doing things to her to make her memories shitty, to protect her from herself and to protect others from herself, because again, Junko. Or it could be both. those could be linked to each other as well. Like, I mean, when you think about it, like, those are very much not mutually exclusive. In fact, they make a lot of sense that those together make sense. You know what I'm trying to say. It seemed that this building had already fulfilled its role, a half year ago at most. If that was true, then it wouldn't be strange for this building to still seem like it had seen recent use. However, the tall fences that surrounded the building seemed to shout that it was already out of commission. Plates were even stuck on the fences, reading Hope's Peak Academy North District, planned construction area, do not enter. While steadying my breath once more, I walked at a slow pace around the fence. It seemed that, to enter the old school building, there was no other way than to climb over these, but once again, I could feel that itchiness in my head. Still not used to it, I grimaced, and then suddenly a thought appeared in my head. Speaking of this place, I remember hearing that there were security guards around this place. Even though I didn't look at my notebook, I somehow remembered that. Surprised by the sudden recollection, I came to a halt without thinking, and then another wave of surprise washed over me. I was surrounded by a number of security guards. Huh? In a panic, I frantically looked around, speechless and emotionless, almost as if they were lifeless mannequins. All they were doing was simply looking straight at me. Or are these gonna be like Junkaites? Are these gonna be more people that are kind of like Monokuma slaves, servants of Junko, whatever the fuck? Without listening to my excuses, the security guards split up and dispersed. Ignoring what should have been an obvious intruder, they left and continued their patrol. Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like they're in the know as well. There's all these people that are in the know about what clearly to me, I mean, at this point it has to be. Like, I know I've said this so many times, but all I can do is reiterate myself until I get the final reveal where I'm right or wrong. It's gonna be so funny when we find out that Ryoko's like a third sister and I was just wrong all along, but she's like Mukuro and Junko's sister. Because she does have the... anyways, that would be funny though. Having been left behind, I stood there shocked and speechless, and then met the eyes of the only remaining security guard. He's young. The face beneath the helmet was that of a high schooler's. No matter how you looked at it, his mouth twisted into something resembling a smile as he took out a shining object. It was a medal that had a bear mascot engraved upon it. It was half white and half black, a very peculiar bear mascot. If I recall correctly, it was called Monokuma. It happened again. Without even looking back at the notebook, that thought came to me by itself. It was almost like someone else's thought was pushed straight into my head. An eerie sensation. Is this what remembering is? This wasn't the time to be analyzing myself. Suddenly, the right arm of the security guard extended outward. It seemed as if he was pointing to something a bit further away. Following the direction of his gesture, my eyes spotted a small opening at the bottom of the fence that one could crawl through. But why would a security guard tell me something like that? Because he's your security guard, silly head. The moment my eyes returned to the security guard, he was already walking away. Though I wasn't exactly sure why, I absent-mindedly stared at his figure moving farther and farther away. As another thought suddenly entered my mind again. It seemed as though I had remembered yet another thing. In the end, everyone is just conveniently moving along with the scenario. Suddenly, I felt a strangely heavy fear pressing on me from the back of my head. Yeah, it kind of reminds you maybe of something Mukuro said not that long ago. But it'll be alright, I desperately convinced myself. No matter what, if it's to meet Matsuda, then everything will be alright. That's what I believed. I believed in Matsuda. I believed in my feelings for Matsuda. I believed in the world that belonged to myself and Matsuda alone. By earnestly believing in him, I blew away all my uneasiness and pressed on with renewed vigor. And I have already guzzled this water, like I said, and my voice this is a water day. So I'm gonna drink a lot more water, and that means that I'm gonna make a quick cut here to get some water. So I'll see you guys in a flash with Chapter 12 of Danganronpa 0, Volume 2. Alright, we're back, and we're ready to jump into Volume 2, Chapter 12 of Danganronpa 0. I'm really looking forward to this. That was a nice little, easy little, fun little chapter. A good, perfect start to our finale video. So, I assume we'll get a longer chapter here, but we'll have to see. I crawled under the small opening in the... I really have nothing to say about Chapter 11, though, real quick. It was just kind of... Yeah, she went to the school building. She ran into a bunch of, like, Monokuma security guards, or like Junko security guards or whatever, you know, people that seem to know exactly who she is and know their role to play in all of this, and they're doing their job. And that's kind of a recurring theme right now, is everyone has a role to play, and I think I even called the previous episode something like that, the roles we play. And yeah, here we go. Like, everyone's playing their roles, you included, Ryoko. Whatever your role is, even if I'm wrong about my theory that I've been pushing for most of the story, that's still what you're doing. You're still playing your role, even whether I'm right or not about what I think is going on here. I crawled under the small opening in the fence, finally reaching the back side of the old school building. As I walked around the building in search of a way in, I came to a large entranceway in the front. Possibly due to the building's worsening condition, the door seemed to be not only unlocked but half open. I drew closer to it while keeping an eye out, and carefully slipped into the opening. What lay ahead once inside was a dim, dusty entrance hallway. Matsuda! Calling out his name, I proceeded down the hall. With every step on the damp floor, my shoes made a wet squeaking sound. Matsuda, where are you? Try not to be too loud. This is actually, like I said, a little past 6 at night. It's not the fucking middle of the night like it usually is when I record these. So, you know, normal talking, but I don't want to be fucking, like, yelling when, you know, people are actually awake and shit. Anyways, as I peered down the hallway, raising my voice a bit louder, I realized something felt out of place. Isn't it too dark? Even more so than the entrance hall, the hallway ahead of me seemed to be enveloped by an unnatural darkness. It was as if not even one ray of light could shine through it. But it should have still been afternoon. No matter how much it was raining, there should have been some sign of the sun's light coming through the windows. Snap. A strange sound rang out in the darkness. Wah! It wasn't just once either, like a chain reaction. Those sounds began to continuously multiply. Snap, 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 snap. One by one, the lights turned on throughout the hallway, and by the time the sound stopped, the whole building was illuminated with light. Matsuda? That was all I could think of. He must have responded to my voice calling out. Wow, that's pretty gay. What the fuck, Ryoko? Alright, sure. With that notion pushing me forward, I continued down the hallway, enveloped in electric light. Matsuda, where are you? As I peeked into a peeking classroom. Matsuda, checking a bathroom. Matsuda! Oh, she got extra excited about the prospect of Matsuda in the bathroom. Very sussy there, young woman. While walking up the stairs, Matsuda peeking into yet another classroom. Matsuda checking another bathroom. Matsuda, both times, exclamation point has been on both times that she's checked the bathroom. That, you were sus, girl. While walking up more stairs, Matsuda? Continuing to go through these actions, I eventually ended up on the highest floor. Even there, while calling out, hey, Matsuda, and going through the hallways, bathrooms, and classrooms, I didn't catch sight of him anywhere. Getting tired, I decided to pause and catch my breath. Then a thought about the strange building came into mind. So, the old school building was really like this? As I walked around the building looking for Matsuda, its atmosphere didn't really give me the impression that it was anything like a school. First of all, there weren't any windows. From the first floor all the way up to the highest, the windows in all the hallways and classrooms were boarded up with thick wooden planks, which appeared to be the cause of the unnatural darkness. Furthermore, all the hallways and classrooms had nonsensical, disgusting, tasteless pieces of artwork scattered everywhere. Would have been curious, I actually would be really curious to see those. As a result, almost any trace of the building having been a school was lost. It was unthinkable that the building was in this state when it was being used. If that was the case, then someone, for some reason, definitely had to have planned this. But who and why? You, and for you. Seemingly, at least. Ah, you must be pretty surprised, huh? Kya! With no warning whatsoever, a voice rang out from behind me, causing me to jump. In a panic, I turned around and, huh? There wasn't anyone there? Well, that's to be expected. Even I was surprised by all of this. But even so, I could still hear that voice. Once again, I surveyed so this has got to be Kamishiro, because this has happened before with Kamishiro. Once again, I surveyed my surroundings and, as expected, couldn't detect any hint of another person. Hey, big sis, where are you looking? I'm right here, you know? The voice was coming from right in front of me, right in the middle of the hallway. I'm right here. Feeling myself wince from the exceedingly strange turn of events, I focused all of my attention toward the direction where the voice was coming from. As I continued to stare, a young boy's figure began to appear. A child? Gah! I guess you forgot about me yet again. The boy, seemingly entirely fed up, put his hands on his hips. I'm Yudo Kamishiro, Class 77's ultimate spy. Immediately, I opened up Ryoko Otonashi's memory notebook and was able to find him and remember before the annoying itching feeling could return inside my head. Oh, Kamishiro! Jeez, how many times have I introduced myself by now? Displeased, Kamishiro puffed out his cheeks. Wait, why are you in a place like this? That's what I was going to say. He said, releasing the air from his cheeks. Actually, how did you even get in here? Weren't there a bunch of security guards patrolling the area? It's nothing for someone with no presence like myself, but I'd think it would be impossible for an average person like you to get past all those guards. I was at a loss for words. There was no way he would believe me if I said that the security guards just let me through. It just kinda happened? It was the only explanation I could think of, but he seemed to accept it regardless. You forgot how you got in here. Oh well, guess there's no choice. There's nothing I can do if you're already here. Kamishiro then began boasting about how he got into the school through his various espionage actions. He had caught wind of the secrets connecting the old school building and the series of incidents occurring. From there, he snuck into the building itself, not much earlier than when I'd reached it, it seemed. Not only that, but it appeared that it was also Kamishiro who found the breaker to the electricity and turned on all the lights. But it's pretty impressive that you were able to find the breaker when it was so dark. Hahaha. I guess the night vision goggles I use in my hobbies were pretty helpful. Oh, Lord. What the fuck, Kamishiro? Scared, I decided not to ask about what exactly those hobbies would be. Trust me, all you have to do is replace the H in hobbies with a B, and then take the other one of the other B's and turn it into an O, and that more or less sums it up. Well, when I think about it, meeting you here was some good timing. After all, if you, my client, weren't here, the resolution phase wouldn't be able to start. Huh? Resolution phase? Basically, I already got the full picture of this story down. The next step is to take care of things in a spy-like manner and prevent it from happening. And that'll be another case complete. I see. I see? Isn't that reaction a bit too weak? Kamishiro seemed to overreact at my underreaction. But a weak reaction was to be expected, right? After all, things like the case or the resolution phase didn't matter to me at all. More importantly, Matsuda. I need to meet Matsuda. It'll be alright. Yasuke Matsuda should be heading over here pretty soon. Huh? Well, you were probably worrying about Matsuda, right? While suppressing his laughter, he shoved another sweetbread into his mouth and immediately started off in another direction. Alright, let's go. We'll talk while we move. Eh? Go? As in where? Come on, if you don't hurry, I'll leave you behind. Kamishiro then hopped onto the stairs while I hurriedly followed after. Hey, wait, you know where Matsuda is? Already going on about him, huh? You sure are impatient, big sis. Well, I don't really dislike that part of you. I guess, you know, it's pretty common in American movies. Those scenes where they start stripping down desperately before getting it on all rough. That kind of impatience really turns me on, Jesus Christ. That is a thing. I mean, he's not wrong about the movie thing, but of the fact that... Jesus Christ, bro. Hey, stop screwing around. You're the one screwing around, aren't you? Oh shit. Oh shit. As Kamishiro turned around and looked at me, my whole body froze without a thought. The look on his face was unexpectedly tense and severe. Matsuda. Man, you sure are persistent. Just be quiet and listen to what I have to say for now. Without any reply from me, Kamashiro's words and gaze continued their pressure, and then he returned to bouncing down the stairs. After leaping off toward the end of the flight, he once again turned back toward me. What's wrong, big sis? Hurry up! His face had already returned to that innocent smile. Come on, hurry up! Alright. Confused, I walked down the stairs after him. After rejoining Kamashiro at the bottom, we continued side by side down the next flight. Okay, let's start with the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. It seemed that his resolution phase, or whatever, had already begun. I think you already got the gist of it, but the tragedy of Hope's Peak occurred somewhere in this old school building. That's right. Everything started right here. Bringing all of the information together and connecting it. That seemed to be the detective-style way of the resolution phase. It was certainly the worst incident, the worst anything that ever occurred at Hope's Peak Academy. After all, 13 members of the student council, the best of the best, were murdered. There were 2 people who survived this tragedy. One was the ultimate student council president, Soshun Murasame, who somehow escaped despite suffering major injuries, and the other person was Izuru Kamakura. Wait, what? Even I was surprised as I blurted those words out without thinking. Oh my god, her memory keeps coming back and is gloated. Also, Soshun Murasame might have survived the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy, but he damn sure ain't survived the tragedy of Matsuda taking shit into his own hands, baby. How rare to see you remember something. Kamashiro's strange gaze remained fixed on me. I'm wondering if he's gonna figure it out at some point. Well, whatever. He soon moved on and continued his explanation once more. Izuru Kamakura was hiding something. The fact that he was an individual amazing enough to be called the Ultimate Hope. Kamakura was researched on by Hope's Peak Academy. They raised him. He was the result of their collective effort, in which every talent and ability of ultimate caliber was forced into his body. And yes, forced is not an exaggeration. Jesus Christ. Like, Izuru as, like, a concept is so fucked up, and, like, how they applied that to the story of Danganronpa 2 was fucking great. Loved that shit. Anyways, he was truly Hope's Peak Academy's hope. That's why the school hid the existence of it all, to the point where no student knew anything about Izuru Kamakura, not even whether he was a boy or a girl. He was raised completely sheltered. Sheltered upbringing, living completely closed off from the world. I was the same as him. I was shocked that it sounded almost exactly like myself. And Junko was able to use that to get to Izuru even more, because Junko could relate to him. And, you know, Junko can use anything to her advantage to manipulate others, but having a similar experience, I'm sure, only helped. But then that Kamakura guy caused an outrageous incident to occur. Kamashiro's tone seemed to become more serious. Kamakura caused that bizarre mass murder of all things to occur within the school. It was truly awful. After all, the person who was praised to be the ultimate hope above all others caused such a despair-inducing incident to occur. If it wasn't the epitome of a tragedy, then I don't know what it was. Junko laughs like, oh, you haven't seen shit yet, boy. That was the reason why it was called the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. It's certainly something the school would label it as. The existence they raised together as a collective effort committing such an unprecedented, bizarre murder crime. There wasn't anything else to call it but a tragedy. That's not all there is. What's even worse is that not only did the school not bring light to the situation, they attempted to fully conceal it. As he spoke, while rhythmically stepping down the stairs, I was completely absorbed by what he was saying. Without giving any formal response, without writing anything in my notebook, I just intently listened to what he had to say. The school was most likely afraid. After all, if people were to catch wind of that incident, the whole mission statement of the school, that talent is humanity's hope, would crumble. And it makes sense, because Hope's Peak Academy is kind of like, it's one of those things where they have a ton of money because everyone, they ran into the issue where they weren't getting enough money to do what they wanted to do, which is research hope and talent and teach like the truly elite when it comes to skill and various talents. And that's why the reserve course was made. The reserve course was made because they could get a bunch of money from parents and from students that want to have they want to go to the Gucci of schools, right? Like the super luxurious brand, right? The Louis Vuitton of schools, whatever you want to call it. The fucking Ferrari of schools, right? And that's what Hope's Peak is. So, like, it would be great for their reputation and for their future. Even if you weren't, really one of the main people in the school, like, the reserve course you still could say you went to Hope's Peak. It still has that credibility, that prestige, and people would pay a lot of money for it. And that's how they were able to fund a bunch of their shit. And that's the whole point of the reserve course, as we know. I also gave them guinea pigs for Izuru, but that's another story. If that happened, the school would lose authority, and if it were handled improperly, they wouldn't last much longer either. So that's why the school is trying to hush up the incident. Well, they're probably facing pressure from outside sources as well, but the ones we should feel sorry for are those student council guys. Student council. Those words snuck into my head, and along with them came the itchiness, which forced the memory to surface. That memory was of the Madurai brothers and their terrifying expressions as they relentlessly chased after the source of the tragedy. Yeah, those poor guys. After all, those guys all died in vain. It really is awful. It's like, as long as it's for the sake of the school's hope, anything can become a stepping stone. Even if it hadn't been the reserve course, they were so stubborn that they would have used something else, that's true. I shook my head, chasing out those images of the Madurai's faces. They don't have anything to do with me. This wasn't the time to be thinking about them. And then the ones who led this whole process of covering it up were none other than the top of the top, the steering committee members themselves, who are also dropping like flies. They hid the fact that Izuru Kamakura was not just a survivor, but the perpetrator of the entire incident. And that's where the old school building comes in? After being silent for so long, I responded, and Kamishiro quickly nodded in reply. Either way, there's no reason to ignore the place where the incident occurred. Might as well check it out while we're here, carefully snooping around, right? While descending the stairs that led from the second floor to the first, Kamishiro continued matter-of-factly. There was a huge miscalculation on the school side. While they were moving along, assuming they had covered up the tragedy, there was still another troublesome individual that hadn't been dealt with. Junko Enoshima. The moment I spoke those words, we reached the first floor. Over here, come with me. Without a moment of hesitation, Kamishiro continued forward. The first person to discover the truth of that incident was Junko Enoshima. Then, by trying to find Izuru Kamakura afterwards, she aimed to overthrow Hope's Peak Academy. As we walked together, it seemed both Kamashiro's destination and the end of his resolution phase were almost upon us. What happened afterward was completely aligned with her plan. The disappearance of the steering committee shows that. It was definitely her doing. She probably kidnapped them and forced them to spill Izuru Kamakura's whereabouts with brute force. But Junko Enoshima really is someone to fear. Jeez, and just how is she the ultimate fashionista? Well, I mean, to be fair, I think in real life, the ultimate fashionista would probably be fucking terrifying. I mean, all jokes aside, like, that's not even a joke. As if responding to Kamashiro's words, the itchiness brought up a flashback, reviving more of my memories. This time it was that concrete room with the iron bars, the place where I had seen the old man's corpse, and the other man whose eyes were hideously sewn together. Sis, What are you doing just spacing out like that? Over here, over here. Kamishiro was already standing a fair distance away, calling out to me. Oh, sorry. Yep. I jogged over to where Kamishiro was standing. He had stopped at the very end of the first floor hallway. There was nothing in front of him but walls. It should probably be around here. What should be here? Ah, it's this. Raising his voice, he pointed toward a small opening in the wall. I borrowed this from one of the security guards outside, but while speaking, Kamishiro pulled out a long rod-like object from his pocket, which almost looked like some sort of key. As he inserted that key into the wall, a clink could be heard coming from the grip of his small hand. Jackpot. I was thinking it could have been this. I investigated like crazy all over this place, but there weren't any other suspicious areas. Sounding very proud of himself, Kamishiro turned the key. Accompanied by the sound of rumbling, the wall slid open like an automated door. Rumbling, rumbling, it's coming. No, I'm just kidding. Past that entrance was simply a straight, long, and narrow passageway. An imposing double door could be seen standing at its end. What is this place? I said it earlier, didn't I? This is where Izuru Kamakura is hidden. Oh my god, are we gonna get Kamakura and Otonashi? Let's fucking go. And Kamishiro here too. Kamishiro sounded incredibly excited. Matsuda's here too? He could already be here, or he could be on his way. Either way, Yasuke Matsuda will definitely show up. Kamishiro then set foot into the passageway, and I followed suit. One step rang out. That wasn't even close. Our steps rang out in the cool, dim passageway as we walked straight toward the back. My lips were getting dry, and I was overcome by the constant need to lick them. When we finally reached the end, we stopped for a moment without saying anything, and without is capitalized for some reason. Kamishiro put his hand on the door. Imitating his process, I did the same and saw that he was taking a deep breath. It seemed that even he was a bit nervous. We then pushed, both exerting pressure at the same time, and the doors opened with an exaggerated groan. Past the doors lay about 15 square meters of nothingness. With the ceilings and walls all completely bare, it was truly a dreary and lifeless room. Sis, over here. Kamishiro was pointing toward the corner of the room. There stood a simple elevator like one might see in a factory of some sort. That must be it. Immediately after he spoke, Kamishiro ran energetically toward the elevator. While I stood there in hesitation, he manually pulled its doors open and shouted out. Come on, hurry up. You want to meet Yasuke Matsuda, right? Matsuda. Those words pumped me up. That's right. The only reason I came to this dangerous place was for Matsuda. I'm sure everything will get resolved if I can meet Matsuda. This nightmare, my brain, everything will be exceptionally resolved into a happy ending waiting for me. I mean, yes and no. Kind of. That's why I have to go. Determined, I ran straight toward the elevator and jumped in without losing momentum. Almost immediately, my legs began to shake, and I regretted getting on. I'm positive this elevator was made with the sole purpose to hide Kamakura. Man, they really were exceptionally careful. Here we go. Sounding amazed, he picked up the wired control unit and rested his hand on it. There were only 2 floors to pick from on the device, 1 and B. Without hesitation, Kamishiro pressed B. I assume, 1 is like ground floor and B is basement, I assume. Without hesitation, Kamishiro pressed B. A ridiculously loud sound could be heard from the motor, and the floor began to quake heavily. As I continued to tremble with unease, the elevator began to steadily descend. Yep, makes sense. Exciting, isn't it? Immediately, Kamishiro raised his voice into a cheer. It looks like you really are enjoying this. Aren't you afraid? Of course I'm afraid, Kamishiro responded with a smile on his face. To be honest, I'm actually terrified to the point where I want to run away. Man, it's the first time I've ever felt like this. I can't believe someone like me is getting scared over this, but that's why this is so fun. After all, if I can overcome this fear, I'll develop even further as a spy. That's why I won't run. For the sake of powering up as a spy, I won't run away. Oh. Nagito would really like Yuta, like, a lot. Holy shit. Just then, a simple thought floated into my head. Hey, Kamishiro, why am I so persistent about my talent? That's a silly question, big sis. He anticipated my question and responded matter-of-factly. It's the same thing as asking a swimmer, why are you still swimming if it hurts so much? It's only natural to be fixated on it. After all, that's all I have. Oh, that's so good because Junko makes this exact argument that the moment you cling to talent, that you cling to hope, despair has already set in. Because the reason you're so desperate to cling on to such talents is because you don't have anything else, right? And that's why in Danganronpa 1, when Makoto, Kyoko, Toko, Hina, Hiro, and Byakuya cling on to hope as in its true form, as an ideal, and not as them just clinging to their abilities. They cling to hope and actually start to believe that's in something greater. And I don't want to say believe in the future, because that's where you get to Danganronpa 2's ending, and the kind of the true message of this series, really, I think, really doesn't show itself until the second game. But the point being that many of the characters in Danganronpa, because of their incredible talents that have pushed them forward their entire lives, they cling to them desperately because they realize it's the only thing that makes them special, when in reality that's not true. Even if the way they've been grown has taught them that, they have to grow out of that and become better people, and in the process they are no longer clinging to their talents, and in such they can escape despair. And yeah, that also leans perfectly into what I just said, that Nagito would like Kamishiro because Kamishiro is clinging onto his talent, and Nagito believes that talent is everything, and that's kind of what makes the weird thing about Nagito, where he's simultaneously like in a weird way he's the anti-despair, but that in and of itself, just like within an anti-hero or an anti-villain, you can be the anti, but you're still a hero or a villain, right? Nagito is the anti-despair, which thus still makes him a despair. Like, it's very... which is why he would really like Kamishiro, because Kamishiro is someone who clings to his hope. Anyways, all that aside, while talking, Kamishiro raises his hands up as far as he could. Oh, big sis, you should stretch out your body as well, to prepare for the unexpected, you know. Come on, puff out that chest. I'll pass. I thought you'd say that. After flashing an innocent smile, he returned to that serious look of his. If you take away my actions as a spy, I'd have nothing left. An extremely unnoticeable child. That's all I'd be. But I do have a talent. And because we have talents, we can't choose how we live our lives. The moment we were given them, we already started living in our set scenario. What a one-sided way to live, huh? And yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about. I didn't know that he would go deeper into this idea, and it kind of, Hope's Peak Academy can kind of perpetuate this idea by emphasizing the ultimates and their abilities so much. And it's just kind of a toxic way to live, and it's obviously has its flaws, and Junko's was able to exploit Hope's Peak in multiple senses, not just the whole Izuru Kamakura situation, which is incredibly fucked up and immoral, but also just the individuals, right? That's how she was able to create the remnants of despair, you know, the ultimate despair, remnants of despair, that whole, you know, her whole group and her whole followers exist because of of others, you know, other people being alienated because of the way that society is and because of the way that they've been treated. And a lot of that is mindsets like this that lead them into despair and lead them into Junko. And it's really cool writing, and it kind of takes how, like, you know, obviously at the beginning of the series with Danganronpa, like the whole ultimate system and that whole thing was like a gimmick, and it was like, hey, this is what makes these characters, you know, fun and different and cool. But in reality, we spend the majority of the franchise shitting on this as a concept, and I think that's really cool how, like, it's a core concept of the series from like a fun, like, let's play this visual novel mindset, but yet so much of the actual plot and commentary of the games and the stories in this universe dump on the whole idea. So it's like, I like that dichotomy. It's like a really clever duality, because you still get the gimmick, and the gimmick still appeals and makes people want to play the games and stuff. So it's like, it's funny how they're able to have their cake and eat it too in a weird way with Danganronpa. So I do really like that. Anyways, because you have a talent you're assigned a predestined fate to struggle with, I guess that calling that a one-sided way to live is accurate enough. But we actually desire that one-sided lifestyle ourselves. That's why we came to Hope's Peak Academy, to continue to struggle with the talents we're proud of. You're the same, along with the rest of the students in this school, right, big sis? That's why we have to keep pushing forward, no matter how scared we are. It's not some cheap mantra like believe in yourself. It's our duty. If we ran away, that'd be like rejecting our very existence. That's why we have to continue to struggle. See, despite the fact that I think Kamishiro is somewhat misguided in this, I still love his motivation, his determination. So it's like I have mixed feelings about everything that Kamishiro is saying right now. Like, I think he's very misguided, and yet at the same time, I appreciate his fight and his drive and his determination. Honestly, at the core of my being, I continued to doubt myself, and so I couldn't understand Kamishiro's feelings at all. I wasn't like everyone else here. After all, if I was scared, I could just run away. It doesn't have anything to do with me. Oh, but I'm not just scared, you know. Kamishiro appeared to be justifying himself. Well, it's true that I'm scared, but I'm just as excited, however. Izuru Kamakura, Junko and Oshima, the elites of the student council, Yasuke Matsuda, and the steering committee. There's a chance to resolve the chaos that intertwines all of them. I'm sure if I'm able to solve everything, my name would be carved into the history of Hope's Peak Academy, the legendary spy who rescued the ultimate hope, Yudo Kamishiro. Rescue? I responded without thinking. Even though I'd been listening all this time without a word, Kamashiro's phrasing caught my attention. What do you mean by rescue? I mean, Izuru Kamakura is the culprit of the tragedy of Hope's Peak, right? The point is, Izuru Kamakura is a victim in all this too. That's what I mean, you know? I mean, that's true. He is a victim. That doesn't excuse what he's done, but I mean, it is so, like, it's such a unique situation. It's hard to blame him for what he's done. I mean, the blame certainly does lie primarily with Hope's Peak Academy. It's tough, though. Suddenly a bizarre feeling washed over me, and it felt as though everything went silent. The steering committee members decided not to let anyone discover the horrifying truth. That's the reason behind them only hiding Izuru Kamakura. If I managed to uncover the real truth and chase down the true culprit, wouldn't that be the level of accomplishment that gets included in Hope's Peak Academy's history? That's somewhat not quite right. Suddenly, his eyes began to sparkle. I don't really want appreciation from the school or anything, but just think about it. The image of the headmaster kneeling with tears streaming from his face, thanking me. As he smiled, Kamishiro began spinning around. His level of excitement was like that of a dog when its master came home. Actually, I already imagined the whole thing. Host Peak Academy's savior, the ultimate spy, Yudo Kamashiro, or something like that. Now that would stand out. Yeah, he's giving me despair vibes a little bit right now. Which would line up with the fact that he's clinging to hope, and we know what Junko says about that. I already went over that. That would stand out like crazy. It stands out to the point where it would completely blow away my lack of presence. At that point, I felt like I finally caught a glimpse of his true feelings. I'm sure Kamashiro believed in his talent, and at the same time, he detested it. It was a distorted way of thinking, but he most likely wasn't the only one. Anyone who was assigned a talent would probably fall toward that feeling in one way or another. Yep, and that's a very, very thematic truth to the Danganronpa series. And then, right after that, it happened. Clang! Oh my god, that was a long-ass elevator. It really, very, very classic Junko. That elevator reminded me a lot of the trial elevators in the games. Along with the echoing sound came heavy shaking, and the sounds of the motor finally ceased. It seemed that the elevator had finally reached its destination. Looks like we're here. Finally ceasing his ridiculous dancing as the elevator halted, Kamashiro spoke in a quiet voice. As he approached the elevator door, he had said something to himself. Now, I wonder if the masterminds are already here. Ah, classic Danganronpa. Hold on. I set a hand on the door Kamashiro was heading toward. What's wrong? You want to kiss before the decisive battle begins? No, it's not that. I had a bad feeling about this, a really bad feeling, but nevertheless I asked him. I had to ask him. What do you mean by mastermind? Kamashiro's eyebrows twitched. Haha, that was careless of me. I was planning to reveal everything about the accomplices once I captured everybody. He then licked his lips with a bitter smile. Accomplice? Maybe he was referring to that girl. Actually, she's the only person I could think of that might fit the category. You're talking about Mukuro Ikusaba, right? Huh? She's suspicious? Unexpectedly, Kamashiro appeared to be surprised. Wow, I didn't know that. Then that means there's two accomplices, huh? Well, 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 this is just one big happy family. God damn it, the funny thing is, he might not have known that Mukuro was suspicious, but he's fucking right, because he's talking about Mukuro, Yasuke, and Junko. And, I mean, Matsuda's obviously not related, but they kind of are a happy family in the weirdest way. This time it was my turn to be surprised. Wait, if you didn't mean Mukuro Ikusaba, then, of course, I'm talking about Yasuke Matsuda. At that moment, I was hit with a shockwave so powerful that the word shockwave itself couldn't begin to describe it. My heart began beating as fast as it could, its agonizing screams reverberating all throughout my body. A cold shiver ran up my back, numbing my spine and taking my breath away. Well, I should probably go ahead and tell you this now, but Izuru Kamakura isn't someone who can necessarily be called the culprit in the first place. He was just some poor fellow who got wrapped up in all this chaos. The real person who set this all up was Junko Enoshima. Basically, she wasn't just the first person to discover the scene, but the mastermind pulling the strings from the shadows. The one who's been secretly working as her assistant is none other than Yasuke Matsuda. I wonder how he feels, a guy playing secretary like that. He definitely knows. But I don't, like, in a way, he's her assistant. I guess my question is, has he literally, like, been doing her bidding? Because it doesn't seem like it, right? It could potentially be that, but either way, he has, in a weird way, been protecting her because of Ryoko, but I guess we'll get our answers soon enough. Kamashiro's starting point for this part of his resolution phase was so unexpected that all I could do was stand there and listen. I'm pretty sure those two are the only ones aware of their relationship. Well, the school doesn't know about it at least. Otherwise, they wouldn't have requested help from Matsuda in the first place, or maybe that was the reason. Anyway, as a result, Enoshima was able to successfully avoid investigation from the school. I became a brainless mannequin that couldn't even perform the simplest of responses. By the way, who is this Yasuke Matsuda he's been talking about? What Yasuke Matsuda would that be? Couldn't possibly be my Yasuke Matsuda. He would never. But cooperating with them wasn't the only thing Yasuke Matsuda did. Like I said before, about how the disappearance of the steering committee members was the work of Enoshima, it appears that Matsuda was involved with that case as well. Man, they really are a great combination. I had no idea what he was talking about. In fact, I rejected comprehension of his words with all my might. By hearing things that I didn't want to, my head would begin to hurt. My chest would suffer. I'd feel like throwing up. Also, the decisive evidence that ties them together, I've seen it. Well, it's because I witnessed that evidence that I was able to get this far along toward the truth, but I don't want to hear anymore. But as if stabbing me, he continued talking. Junko, Enoshima, and Yasuke Matsuda's passionate kiss. Oh my god. I love that there's a period after every word. He had to pause for every word. And it's like, fully knowing how much Ryoko cares about Matsuda makes it such a dick move from Kamishiro to do that, but it's hilarious at the same time. Junko Enoshima and Yasuke Matsuda's passionate kiss. What is that? Really? What is that? Her mind's about to literally break. I mean, I guess that's one way to put it. I mean, she did kind of like pseudo poison him in the process, but I suppose the kiss was fairly passionate. And it certainly was one of my favorite scenes in this entire story. It was pretty goated, I'm not gonna lie. What is that? Really, what is that? What is that? Really, what is that? What is that? Really, what is that? What is that, really? What is that? Really, what is that? What is that? Really, what is that? What is that? Really? What is that? What is that? What the heck is that? I heard the sound of something crashing down. It was my nerves, falling like dominoes in a chain reaction. The dominoes with the words Yasuke Matsuda, Junko Enoshima, and passionate kiss written on them all came crashing down like an avalanche. Everything was arranged. Everything was arranged by Junko Enoshima. My relationship with Matsuda, all my feelings towards Matsuda, were arranged by her. Matsuda, 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 Matsuda. Matsuda? Betrayed. That word played in the back of my mind. Betrayed. Fooled. Used. Manipulated. That was the truth. The truth of this incident. Yasuke Matsuda, Junko Enoshima, passionate kiss. They clattered as they were colliding with one another on their way to the ground. At the same time, the elevator door was clattering as Kamishiro pried it open. Come on, big sis. For the time being, let's get out of here. We'll talk about the rest once everyone's together. Come on, hurry up, hurry up. Still in a daze, I was pushed out of the elevator by Kamishiro. As I staggered out clumsily, I found myself in a massively tall circular chamber, almost like a miniature theater. Circular chamber. It's interesting you use the word chamber. You know, there's a thematic significance to that in a series called Danganronpa. For anyone who doesn't know, you can look up what Dangan means in Japanese. Hey, this place is pretty nice. Kamashiro's voice coming from behind me echoed throughout the hall. Yep, this could actually be a fitting stage for my resolution phase to take place in. Bro, you're probably gonna die, honestly. It certainly looked like a stage developed with some greater use in mind, but there was nothing there. Nothing that would give the impression of anyone currently using it. Interior design was kept to a minimum, with wallpaper and carpeting. And the only pieces of furniture were a bed and a chest of drawers, as well as a toilet in the corner. Either a wide, extravagant prison or a low-budget place setting. That was the impression it gave. What drew my attention more, however, was the fact that no one was there. Junko Enoshima, Mukuro Ikusaba, Matsuda, even Izuru Kamakura, who was supposed to be hidden here. None of them could be seen. It was peculiar. Instead of any of the important individuals Kamashiro just spoke of, only the outsiders Yudo Kamashiro and Ryoko Otonashi were standing here. But I wondered if that was really so. Maybe I'd been making a huge misunderstanding. All this time, I'd thought that I hadn't met Izuru Kamakura even once. But I couldn't help but wonder, is that really the case? If that really was the case, maybe he'd been watching over me all this time. Maybe the person I'd been looking for was watching over me all this time. Could it be that Izuru Kamakura's true identity was Yudo Kamashiro? I immediately turned around, but Kamashiro wasn't there. The moment I thought that, my vision perceived Kamashiro's appearance. He was crouching at my feet. No. More like kneeling down on the ground. But even so, our eyes met. I instantly jumped back, nothing but shock towards such an illogical display. Sheer horror at such an incoherent sight. Did he just die? Did someone just kill him? The pressure in my skull grew, increasing to a point where it wouldn't have been surprising if my nose began to bleed, and my nerves began trembling to the point where they couldn't connect to form a single thought. Kamashiro, despite kneeling down on the ground, was looking not at the floor but at the ceiling. That's impossible. To turn one's heads all the way toward the back, that's impossible for a living human. Oh my god. They fucking, snapped his neck, and oh my god. They fucking, I'm not going to make that reference in case for people who haven't seen that show, but I thought of a specific show that I've reacted to before. There's a certain character in the first episode who literally gets their head snapped 180 degrees like that. It's crazy. Some of you probably know what show I'm talking about, but I won't go more specific than that, but it's in the first episode of that show. Anyways. Bro, I literally just heard the TV in the background, and I don't think it probably didn't come up for you guys, and I literally just heard the word cocksucker out of nowhere, and I'm like, I have no idea what's being watched, but I'm interested. When I hear someone call someone a cocksucker, I think my curiosity is piqued. Speaking of piqued curiosity, I am legitimately so engaged here. And that's exactly what it was. Out of nowhere, he was no longer one of the living. God, what's crazy is there's so many people that could have killed him. It could have been Ryoko Junko somehow. It could have been Matsuda. It could have been Kamakura. It could have been Ikusaba. I think Mukuro would make a lot of sense because Ultimate Spy is probably not that easy to kill, even if he looks like a kid. So, I would, if it was, I think Ikusaba actually would be my prediction, but could be, who knows? Kamashiro, with his head turned 180 degrees back and glaring at the ceiling, was completely stiff. The only part of him that seemed to be living was the red stream of blood dribbling out from his mouth. He would show no response to anyone's voice or to any sounds. This was too much for me. It was too much to the point where my conscience couldn't fully comprehend the scene of someone dying in front of me. In that moment, my reactions were all delayed. If they weren't, I would have already run away from here. After all, the first thing to come to mind would be the fact that the person who did this to Kamashiro must be very close by. But I was too slow. Poor kid. Oh, I love that that's the cutoff, because someone says poor kid, but we don't know who it is. I mean, I gotta go with Ikusaba. Like, it could be Junko. Oh, it might be Junko. Is it Junko or is it Mukuro? Because I don't think it's gonna be Matsuda. I don't think there's anyone else that makes sense. A figure appeared next to the elevator. It was a slim, fair-skinned man. Wearing a dirty shirt and pants that were of the Hope's Peak Academy's academy uniform. If only he didn't meddle in Junko and Oshima's affairs, then maybe he wouldn't have met such a brutal end. A slim, fair-skinned man wearing a dirty shirt and pants that were of the Hope's Peak Academy's uniform. Is this a remnant? Like, who the fuck is this, actually? Slim, fair-skinned man. Nagito? No, Nagito wouldn't have a dirty shirt and pants. That isn't a Nagito line either. Who the fuck would say that? Who is this? As he said those words with his, if only he didn't meddle in Junko and Oshima's affairs, then maybe he wouldn't have met such a brutal end. As he said those words with his face hung down, not one single emotion could be felt. Who are you? As I asked, trembling, he lifted his face as if he only just noticed me. Are you talking to me? He looked exhausted, the face of someone who lost everything. Face of someone who had lost all his thoughts, all his senses, and all his emotions. You don't remember me? That doesn't actually help. The man's response came in a cold tone of voice. He paused for a moment before continuing even more coldly. Why don't you remember? Why I don't remember? Well, I easily forget things. Stricken by fear and confusion, I was in complete panic. Wait a minute, I just thought of... This is Matsuda, isn't it? This is fucking Matsuda, isn't it? We haven't seen Matsuda in a little while. Bro's been fucking broken. I think this is... I mean, it has to either be Matsuda or a remnant, right? It has to be Matsuda, though. Like, that description works for Matsuda. Huh. Stricken by fear and confusion, I was in complete panic. Hold on a minute, please. Because I'm thinking, like, between the fact that, like, she had her, like, recent, like, fuck Matsuda moment, in her head, and she's just not like, in her mind, her illusion of who Matsuda is could never do this, so he's just assuming that there's no way that's Matsuda, that she's just assuming that with her, like, weird memory brain, and then she's gonna find her drawings of Matsuda and be like, what the fuck? Why do you look like Matsuda? Like, I feel like that might happen, because when they talk about, I saw that she was, yeah, the notebook. Anyways, hold on a minute, please. Flustered, I dropped my eyes towards Ryoko Otonashi's memory notebook, and at that moment, I was hit by that wave of itchiness. The itching soon turned into pain, but it was a pain that brought fever, feeling like a blaring alarm, the frictional heat emitted from the conflict of the Ryoko Otonashi who remembers and the Ryoko Otonashi who forgets. That was the cause of the pain. Does Izuru Kamakura... Well, I mean, that is a remnant. Technically, why didn't I even think of Izuru? I mean, yes, that's a remnant, but duh. Does Izuru Kamakura ring any bells? Hearing the words of the man's unexpected murmuring, the pain went away all at once. I actually don't know which person's saying, is that true? The man right in front of me was Izuru Kamakura. The result of Hope's Peak Academy's collaborative effort, Hope's Peak Academy's symbol, the man known as the Ultimate Hope. Then why? He looked at me with eyes full of sadness, as if he were begging me to rescue him from a bottomless swamp. Why was he looking at me with such sad eyes? I didn't know. I couldn't know. But those eerie eyes caused me to avert my gaze by impulse. This is so interesting. This is a big thing, because I have a friend that I plan to eventually get into Danganronpa. It's probably going to be a long time from now. But I'm going to eventually get this friend into Danganronpa. I've been thinking for the... And reading this story, one of the things I have in the back of my head is, will I tell him to read Danganronpa 0 before or after playing Danganronpa 2? And the fact that like, some of this Kamakura stuff makes me really interested. Like, because it's like, the stuff with Kamakura is really interesting as it pertains to, like, Danganronpa 2 and, like, the different experience you could have while playing Danganronpa 2 before, you know, my experience, which was playing the game before, and then, you know, the alternate experience would be playing the game after DR0. It'd be really interesting either way. Why was he looking at me with such sad eyes? I didn't know. I couldn't know. But those eerie eyes caused me to avert my gaze by impulse. Without thinking, my eyes met those of Kamashiro's corpse, which seemed to be searching for salvation. In a panic, I averted my eyes once again. It would have been better if he didn't... It would have been better he didn't find out. Possibly following my gaze, he muttered as he looked down on Kamashiro. If he didn't get involved, he wouldn't have ended this way. Oh, I love this. I love this. I love this. This is so cool. This is the first time in Danganronpa that we've properly gotten, like, Izuru Kamakura, I feel like. So, this is so cool. The words seemed to be aimed at me as well, and I immediately felt as if my life were in danger. But you're different. Huh? Everything I've done so far, you have a need to know. A need to know, huh? Why me? Before I could ask, he let out a heavy sigh. Besides, I also need more time to think, so I'm going to talk a bit more before making my decision. He mumbled to himself as if reciting from a script. Scared of his current state, I began trying to look around the room without being noticed. Unfortunately, other than a ventilation duct, there didn't seem to be any place that I could escape to. The only exit was the elevator, in front of which Izuru Kamakura was standing, blocking the entrance. Well, I guess I should start with Junko Onoshima's goals. Scratching his head while speaking, he didn't seem to bother meeting my eyes. Rather, he seemed to be avoiding them. The tragedy of Hope's Peak doesn't really mean much to Junko Onoshima in the first place. Eh? With just those words, my attention was fully drawn. The tragedy doesn't mean much? Just wanted to stir up the pent-up emotions of the reserve course. She got the ultimate hope involved in the whole thing for that sole reason. And then incited them all. No, it wasn't something simple like incitement. It was brainwashing. Brainwashing? Oh my god, Man, she really... Well, that's fucking wild. She really is brainwashing people. What the fuck? That does explain Makoto's line in Danganronpa 2. Near the end. You know what I'm talking about. Pain along with violent itching brought up that scene in my mind. The monitor's visuals I had seen beyond the Monokuma heads in the underground facility. Crushing heads, cut up faces, agonizing screams, the mutual killings, red lumps of flesh. She used me and the student council as sacrifices, solely for that purpose. For those in the reserve course who were just treated as leftovers, she threw the school's proud elites into a game of mutual killing. Truly was a tragedy, wasn't it? Ah, so the mutual killing video was the student council. I got it. Mutual killing? While bearing the tight coil of tension that wrapped around my chest and took my breath away, I squeezed the question out of myself. Mutual killing? What exactly do you mean? To start, Tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy wasn't simply a mass murder. It was a mutual killing game instigated by Junko Enoshima. Instigated by Junko Enoshima. Mutual killing. Huh? Killing each other? Enoshima used the old school building due to its being closed off, locked the student council and Ultimate Hope inside, and caused them to kill each other, utilizing various tricks, scattering weapons, threatening to kill everyone if a murder didn't occur, murdering in plain sight to demonstrate, and so on. She was trying to make them doubt each other, to kill each other. It was almost as though she just wanted to experiment. She is truly messed up. It's interesting because even the murdering in plain sight to demonstrate is very, like, a lot of this is her playbook, right? Like, she would repeat this playbook in Danganronpa 1. The repetitiveness of Danganronpa is so interesting because it's like a narrative, like, thread that ties everything together, and it's, like, really weird. Like, I can't decide if it's, like, genius or silly, but it is pretty cool. Just the way they do it and stuff. It's really interesting, though. It's so unique how, like, every Danganronpa piece of media that I've experienced so far is kind of, in a weird way, the exact same, and yet they're very different. It's really strange, but, like, these same themes come up over and over again, but in, like, really weird, different ways. Like, it's so hard to explain, but it's awesome. It's so weird, but it's awesome. Kamakura was talking as if it were someone else's affairs, trapped between fear and confusion. All I could do was stand there and listen. And then we ended up killing each other. There was no other hope of living. Enoshima had the reserve course watch the school's prize student council and the Ultimate Hope kill each other in gruesome ways, killing and staining one another with despair. All of it presented in a vivid display. So this goes into how, like, the Hope's Peak broke Izuru. Junko just gave him that little shove over the edge, this being the shove, or at least part of it. He paused and took a long, slow breath. Soon after, his emotionless voice once again echoed around the room. I'm sure she planned everything to have Izuru Kamakura survive at the end. It was the worst outcome for those in the reserve course. To see the Ultimate Hope they loathed kill everyone else's hope and survive. It must have been an especially dreadful sight. Not only that, but it was likely that Junko Enoshima planned for the school to hide this sin. That's why the reserve course grew to not only despise the Ultimate Hope, but the entire school. In the end, everything went completely as Junko Enoshima had planned. Everything followed her scenario perfectly. It's almost like she has a power, an ability to analyze and predict things exactly how she wants them to happen. Wink, wink. But what reason? What reason did she have to brainwash the reserve course? That must have been to destroy Hope's Peak Academy as well. Not only that, Kamakura then finally looked at me. From the small opening in his long, pitch-black hair, he stared at me. Yeah, his hair is crazy. Her goal is much more horrific. Horrific? To her, brainwashing the reserve course was merely planting the seeds. The tragedy of Hope's Peak. That's all that is to her, planting the seeds. Yes, the seed of despair, and we're planting the seeds for a much larger despair to rise out of it. Kamakura mercilessly hurled his words towards me. I was controlled only for that purpose and then tossed aside. I was too late in realizing it. No. I was just desperately trying not to realize it. I didn't want to believe that she was so obsessed with despair. And that's the truth. The despair-filled truth that I'm involved with this incident. Hey, what do you and Junko Enoshima have to do with each? What do I have to do with her? His words were suddenly filled with intense emotion, if only for a moment. What does all of this mean to you? Are you going to go with your cliche, it has nothing to do with me? If it has nothing to do with you, then why are you remembering it? If it really has nothing to do with you, then it'd be best if the memory of it was lost forever? Why does Kamakura know that expression? And how did he know about me remembering? I was right, wasn't I? About you remembering? That's why you can't remember me right now, isn't it? You remembered that I wasn't actually important to you. And so, you can't actually remember me. Through Kamakura's hair, his eyes gleamed with deadly hatred. You're such a bitch. Huh? Then oh my god, I just figured it out, I think. Then an impossible thought floated into my head. I had to ask it in order to deny the thought. Who are you? You're not Izuru Kamakura. Of course I'm not, you imbecile. His words were spat like venom. I'm Yasuke Matsuda. Yeah. You know, it kind of clicked on me because I was like, you know, this is the weird thing because I've played Danganronpa 2. I know what Izuru Kamakura looks like. And the long black hair, that sounded right. And then I thought about it and was like, wait a minute, there's someone else. Oh, and then yeah, I figured it out right as the reader was supposed to. I didn't figure that out in advance. I think I had that floated in my mind once earlier, but I did dismiss it. I didn't actually think that. Oh, god damn it! I should have said something. Holy shit. Oh my god, this actually is the Ryoko and Matsuda final confrontation. This might be it. I mean, we're at 91%, so we're about halfway through the recording, theoretically. Alright, holy shit, what a chapter. And, like, I'm not really going to even talk about it, because this is clearly just direct continuation. Like, it was the dramatic I'm Yasuke Matsuda next chapter, but we're going to continue right where we left off, clearly. In the end, you didn't remember. You remembered not other things, just not me. Damn it. This is cruel. For you to believe me so easily when I said I was Kamakura, this really is just cruel. Does my existence truly mean nothing to you? Huh? What? I didn't know what to say. An intense chill assaulted my spine and my teeth began to rattle like a drum. Are you really Matsuda? The real Izuru Kamakura was moved from here a long time ago. That means you and I are the only ones left, almost as if someone planned this all out. The impossible string of thought that had floated up into my head took the form of a concrete truth. I desperately opened up Ryoko Otonashi's memory notebook and flipped through the pages in a frenzy, searching for anything that would deny this impossible truth. Then after a while, my hand stopped. In the notebook were an amazing number of portraits detailing Matsuda. Looking up and confirming the individual in front of me one more time, the scattered puzzle pieces in my mind were immediately placed back together. But why? How come I'm not... The heartbeat in my chest, the rise of emotions. I know. You're not feeling anything. Ironically, those words are what proved to me that he was Matsuda. After all, the only other person who knew my method in recognizing Matsuda was Matsuda himself. That's because you're beginning to remember things again. Because you've started to regain your memory. You've stopped thinking about me. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, we're so close. We're so close. I'm about to lose my mind. I'm worried that that it's on the next page. It's coming really soon. It's gotta be. She's gotta be Junko. It's the only it's the only thing. The way this whole story has been written, it's the only payoff that makes sense that would be good enough. I could be wrong. I have so many chills right now. Huh? In the end, it just shows that my existence wasn't anything special to you. But you forgot about that fact, and that's why you were filled with such emotion toward me. Matsuda isn't important to me? because I forgot that fact, I thought he was important to me? What are you talking about? I don't get it. The intense itching entered my brain again. I remembered. The things I would have said to Matsuda when meeting him. The things I would have done when meeting him. Why I wanted to even meet him so bad in the first place. I remembered the reasons for everything. What is this? Why? Suddenly, I wasn't able to believe anything. Not Matsuda, not myself, not even the world. I abruptly began stepping back, but my legs immediately stopped. Blocking the way behind me was a wall, leaving me to simply stand there. Matsuda began taking steps as if pursuing me, impatiently moving forward. Matsuda, what's wrong? As I cried out, my voice was tinged with terror. He responded with nothing but a pale face. Tension built to the point where I felt I was losing my breath. Filled with fear, I spoke that name. Could it be Junko Enoshima's fault? He stopped in his tracks and stared at me with a piercing glare. I can't fucking turn the page. Oh my god! Ah. That must be it. That sharp glare felt as if it penetrated my entire body. These are Matsuda's eyes? Are you really Matsuda? I quickly swallowed the words that almost came out of my throat. I could tell that they would only make matters worse. Hey, Matsuda, let's stop this. Pleading was all I could do as Matsuda cornered me. How about we just head back to the laboratory? We could just relax and chat while you perform treatment on me. If we do that, everything will go back to normal. By the end of my plea, my voice had risen into a scream. After all, this is just wrong. This has to be wrong. It's already too late. But Matsuda turned his head from me. I can't go back anymore. Neither you nor I. We can't go back. Hearing his freezing voice, my whole body quickly grew cold. Why are you saying that? Me? Why are you spouting such cruel words? Continuing with that bitterly cold voice, he spoke with rage and irritation. You still can't remember what I've done to protect Junko Enoshima? I see. Then I'll make you remember. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Bro, every page it's just... Oh, my nipples are getting hard. Let's fucking go! It's alright. Let's just forget about this and get away from this place. Nothing will change, even if we forget. No one knows that better than you do. I don't know anything! Reaching my limit, I shrieked with all my might, but Matsuda, paying me no mind. Alright, just listen. Oh, this is so sad. I am like so into the ship, by the way. In like the weirdest way. Like I don't know. Going into this scene, I just figured, okay, yeah, Matsuda's gonna die. The more this goes, it's like, I don't know. He sounds like he's all in. Like he really might be all in, and maybe he doesn't die. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. I have no fucking clue. I'm convinced, like, it has to be, you know, the Ryoko Junko thing has to be correct. Like, I'm just convinced, and I'm probably wrong, but I'm not wrong. But I don't know what the fuck they're doing. That's the only thing I'm confident in right now. But why was he speaking with such a sad expression? I was the one who should have been sad. The tragedy of Hope's Peak, everything changed because of it. No. It was because of the tragedy that I realized it. The fact that my life, which I thought was completely normal, was actually a fake scenario set up to control me. The words weren't directed toward anyone, not even me, but instead toward himself. I've been fooled by Junko Enoshima all this time. Completely fooled. But even so, I couldn't stay away from her. I thought I would be able to stop her. I thought I could save her. That's what I was made to believe. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. This is so insane. Like, Junko's... like, it's looking like Junko literally created Ryoko. Like, this... like, she created this, like, secondary version of herself. Just to fuck. Like, entirely to play Matsuda. Like... and that is what we're getting at. That Ryoko literally exists because Junko made it so... like, fuck off. Like, this character cannot get better. But, like, everything about Danganronpa 0, if the revelation is what I think it is, has made Junko infinitely better than she was before, somehow. And she was already my favorite character. But, like, Nagito was kind of knocking on the door. He's not knocking on the door for me anymore. If this is... this is insane. His voice began to drip with bitterness. I feel so bad for Matsuda. Holy shit, I love Yasuke Matsuda. Bro, I kind of want Ryoko and Matsuda figures. I'm not going to lie. I don't even know if those exist. They probably do. Ryoko, if Ryoko is, in fact, the goddess, it's got to exist. Matsuda probably, too. Fuck. I need a Nagito figure, though. I don't even know if you guys know this, but I actually have a Junko figure. I plan to reveal that when we get to the anime. I actually do have a Junko figure that I'll be showing off in the first anime reaction. If I have more figures by the time we get to the anime, I'll definitely be sure to show them off in those videos. In order to protect her, I concealed her existence itself. Yep. But even after that, she kept going and killed the steering committee members. That's why I went as far as to hide those corpses. I dealt with the evidence for her sake. As my ears took in his words, my mind began playing through all the scenarios that had occurred up to this point. There was no time to even feel the itching. Not only that, I even murdered people for her sake. In order to silence Soshun Murasame, who knew the truth about the incident, and it's the same with that Yudo Kamashiro kid. For her sake, I couldn't let them live. That's why I killed them. And that's why Junko loves you. Because because she is eating good tonight. The despair that she's put you through, and in the process put Ryoko through, who might be herself through. Oh my god, it's so next level, but it makes so much sense for her character. This is an amazing story. Like, this is so good. I was completely submerged by the torrent of truth blasting out of Matsuda. But there was something I needed to know, no matter what. So I struggled to keep my head above the waves as I attempted to ask him, is she really that important? Junko Enoshima is really that important to you? She is. Oh my god. Oh my god. I wasn't even thinking about this being on the next page, but it might be on the next page. Holy shit, this might be the page. Oh god, now I'm scared. Matsuda responded with no hesitation. Why is she so important to you? As my tears of confusion and fear pushed against the flood, I struggled forward, frantically raising my feeble voice. It's because of what she said to me. What she said to me when I lost what was most important to me. From now on, I'll be what's important to you. That is such a Junko line. That is such a, oh my god. I mean, like, regardless of whether he's dying here, like, we can confirm, like, in a way, he is a despair. Like, she fucked him. She fucked Matsuda so hard. She damn near literally fucked him. Jesus Christ. But, like, what the fuck? It was ridiculously impudent. Impudent. I hate that word. That word, I struggle to say that. But thanks to that impudence, I was prevented from being all alone. She's not family or a lover or even a friend, but she's someone just as important to me as any of those. That's an interesting way to put it. And she has kissed you, though. And maybe fucked you. I mean, what? Uh-huh. Just as important as any of those. That's how Matsuda felt about Junko Enoshima. It felt like everything was over. No. Rather, everything was over from the beginning. I had no chance of winning from the start. Someone who had no past had no chance of competing with Junko Enoshima. Trust me, it doesn't matter what. You, ironically, are actually the one person who can compete with Junko Enoshima, Ryoko. Because, trust me, nobody can compete with Junko Enoshima. She is the despair. She is the big-chested despair goddess for a reason. And the only person that can compete with Junko Enoshima is Junko Enoshima. Luckily enough, I think you might have a chance, Ryoko. Frustration, jealousy, there was none of that. It's over, was all I could feel. I let out a huge breath. Contained in that very breath was my resignation to the entire world. Jesus Christ. It's like, fuck it, I don't need to live. And then it happened. Oh, God. Oh, God, literally the next line's gonna be, you're Junko, bitch. Dumbass. Oh, God. Holy shit. We're at 92% too. I'm so scared. A clanging sound could be heard. And Matsuda instantly turned around. The scene past his shoulder was laid out before me. There was a girl standing in the elevator. Looks like I was right on time. She had showy makeup as if... Wait, what? Wait, whoa. No. Do not tell me. No. You can't do this to me. You can't. Okay, there's two possibilities here. Oh, fuck. I got chills. Oh, God, but which one is it? Oh, God. Was I wrong this entire time? Oh, my God. Was I... Fuck. Okay. Either I was wrong this entire time, or this is Mukuro cosplaying as Junko, because we know Mukuro likes to cosplay as Junko. Danganronpa 1, baby. So, oh God. This is either Mukuro or it's Junko for real. Oh, Lord. Like, looks like I was right on time. I will say, though, before we find out, because I'm sure we're going to find out rather quickly whether this is Junko or Mukuro, that's not a very, like, bombastic Junko introduction. She had showy makeup as if she had been pulled straight from the pages of a fashion magazine, and huge, overblown, fluffy blonde hair. Her uniform was popped open enough to show a ridiculous amount of cleavage, along with an obscenely short skirt from which long, fair, and slender legs ran down. Yeah, that's definitely our girl. That's definitely our despair goddess. Which, by the way, like, her design is god tier, like, goddess tier, like, holy shit. Like, I'm not even saying it because she's hot as fuck and she's showing a lot of that off. This is just such a great design. To be fair, though, Danganronpa designs are peak. Like, there are so many goated designs in Danganronpa, Junko being one of many. Junko Enoshima, I shouted her name with certainty. Junko Enoshima? Matsuda mumbled, mixed with doubt. Huh? Oh, it's not like I came here to get in your way or anything. Without anyone else addressing her, she began explaining herself. I just came here to provide the supplementary explanation. It appears to be the right scenario for this. That's Mukuro. Junko does not talk like this. There's no fucking universe where Junko talks like this. I mean, the meta part of it, maybe, but no. Junko is so confident in everything she says. This hesitation is Mukuro. Absolutely fucking Mukuro. Oh, man. For a second, they scared me that I've been going on this stupid fucking theory for fucking 70% of the story or whatever, and I was fucking wrong. Like, 3/4 of the story, I would have looked like such an idiot. I feel like... Oh, because I've really, like, despite continuously saying, you know, it might not be or whatever, I've went so all in on this theory that it's so funny, because when I first said it, I didn't necessarily believe it, but then over time, it just became more and more like, all the pieces fit, is what I'm trying to say. Anyways. The blonde-haired girl with showing makeup spoke in a distinctly hesitant manner. Wait, isn't that kind of weird? Yeah, even the girl who's struggling with her memory is remembering enough to know this is weird. Well, the explanation, you can probably tell from my appearance, but to follow Junko's scenario, I'm required to play this part. Yes, that's what this is. Bro, you're not even trying. You were actually terrible at this. I think you played a much better Junko by the time we got to Danganronpa 1. I guess you had a lot of practice, because you are abysmal at playing Junko at this stage. Jesus Christ. You got so much better at it by Danganronpa 1. I was once again attacked by the severe itching. It was so bad at this point that I felt like I wanted to claw my hands into my brain. And then immediately after that, along with feeling like my vision had opened up, I remembered. I remembered the face of the girl standing in front of me. That face I'd been seeing. It was not Junko Enoshima, but someone else. That's right. That would be Mukuro Ikusaba's face. But at the same time, another question floated up in my head. If the me right now was able to recognize Mukuro Ikusaba, what about the past forgetful me? Showy makeup, blonde hair, popped up uniform, obscenely short skirt. If I saw that disguised girl, would I have been able to put the pieces together and realize it's Mukuro Ikusaba? And does this mean the Junko Enoshima I've known all this time? And there it is. It wasn't even BS. It was just Mukuro, which explains how she was such an insane fighter. I mean, even though Junko could probably kick ass anyways, but oh my god. There wasn't even a delusion element to it. Oh my god. It wasn't even a delusion element. We literally have not seen Junko. Junko has not been in the story. Oh my god, that's brilliant. Oh my god, that's so good. That's so good. Why didn't I think of that? Bro, I got chills. I got chills. This is halfway to a reveal. This is halfway into a reveal. Oh my god. This is so good. I'm sorry, the girl bowed her head. To explain further, the Junko Enoshima you've met was really me disguised as her. Disguised? So it was a fake? But it's not like I did that because I wanted to. It was because Junko told me to. That's why even my lines were set up by Junko. That would explain it. Okay, yeah. Junko's lines. Yeah. Because those were very Junko lines. And the fact she's the ultimate analyst, so she was able to predict the conversation well enough to write Mukuro's lines perfectly as playing Junko. This is so stupid. Why is this so good? I hate this. I hate this so much. Oh my god, this is disgusting. Then what about the real Junko Enoshima? So, this is the most important part, but the reason I had to do all of this was because I hit her, right? Oh my god. Oh my god, it really is that. This is too good. This is too much. No wonder he felt weird about... Oh my god. Matsuda's irritated words interrupted her. Because I hid Junko Enoshima, the real her is gone. And taking advantage of that, you become Junko Enoshima. Doing so, you make this one believe in her existence. Oh my god, and that's how Junko and Ryoko have both... What the fuck? That explains the Junko-Ryoko conundrum so well, because, you know, nobody fucking notices Mukuro. She can just fucking be hiding. Bro, that explains... What the fuck? What are you guys talking about? Make me believe in Junko Enoshima's existence. But why? I was completely lost. I'm so scared to turn the page. The reveal could happen any page now. I know I've been saying that for pages, but... Basically, he continued, Enoshima anticipated my actions. She saw through my plan in hiding her, and is now simply spectating my actions in amusement. Spectating? I frantically looked around the hall. There must have been something here indicating that someone was watching us, but there didn't seem to be any peepholes or cameras anywhere. You poor girl! Huh? Why? This is insanity. To think she'd be this driven by despair. I don't want to believe it, but at some point early on, she must have gotten to me. Whatever he was about to say, it quickly faded away. I was already incapable of understanding his feelings. His frustration towards Junko Enoshima. His resentment toward Junko Enoshima. To the point of despair. This is it! This is so great. Also, there are two despairs that are standing right next to each other, and they need to start, like... Oh, this is so much. Well, it's actually three despairs. We'll get to that. Fucking hell. Because there's just no fucking way. 100%. 100%. I'm so all in. You know, fuck saying that there's a chance. There's no chance. She is Ryoko's Junko. It's over. It's over. At this point, it's over. I was unable to comprehend, but there was one thing that was clear to me. Once again, to the point of despair. It was entirely clear to me. This is shit, the same thing that drives him to despair, drives her to despair. It's so genius. The use of love. Oh, Junko's manipulation of love. We've seen it with Mikan. We're seeing it with Mukuro. We've seen it with, we're seeing it with Matsuda. We're seeing it with Ryoko. It's insane. It's like her greatest weapon, arguably. You must love her, but at the same time, hate her, right? That's right. The despairs are talking about Junko and how much they love and hate her because that's a relationship that all the despairs have with Junko. Holy shit, this is so good. Oh my god. I'm losing my mind right now. Bro, I didn't know I could love Junko more, but every time I love her more. This is stupid. This is the... Junko is one of the greatest characters of all time. I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. Junko is a goddess. The things I would swallow from her know no end. And I don't care how fucking gross it is. Okay, maybe I do, but I don't know. Junko... She would do horrible things to me because she'd want to make me despair, and unfortunately, I would become, I'd be a despair. Jesus Christ. She could do anything to me. Literally fucking Mikan 2.0 over here. I'm gender bent Mikan, I guess. Anyway. Matsuda quietly nodded. His answer confirmed my thoughts. I was right to give up. There was nothing I could do but give up and let everything end. Just the way she's saying that is so dark. And I just can't wait, because it's going to come out any time now. Any page now. We're at 93%, baby. Wait. This is the end of my world. This is the end of the world that belonged to me and Matsuda. The moment I gave up, the curtains of my soul slowly began to slowly fall. Thump? Huh? That's why I have to end this. Covering his face with both hands, Matsuda let out a huge sigh. He then lifted his head, eyes brimming with an unwavering determination. It's likely that my desire to protect her was true despair. That's why, unless I end this, my despair won't end either. Oh my god, this is so sus. This is so sus. It was the voice of someone who had given up on everything. That's why I have no choice but to end this. His eyes were full of anger, sadness, love, hatred, all boiled and concentrated together. But even then, there was a strange calmness in his expression. Thump, thump. Huh? But why? All of a sudden, her heart is thumping and she's falling in love again. Oh my god, this is so cute and romantic and fucked up and this is my life right now. Holy shit. This ending is amazing. This ending is everything I could have wanted, and we still haven't even gotten the thing that I've actually been waiting for the whole story. This is killing me. I didn't want Junko and Oshima to get involved any further. I thought I would be protecting her that way. Matsuda began to close the distance between us at a slow pace. That's why I hit her. That's why I desperately tried to hide her. Thump, 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 thump. As Matsuda drew closer, the beating of my heart grew louder and louder, and I just gotta go. I just gotta go. It might happen on the next page. It really might happen on the next page, but I gotta just turn it. But it was pointless. My actions did nothing. What I did meant nothing to Enoshima. In the end, there was nothing she could do but inflict despair on anyone close to her. That's why I understand now. This is my despair. Oh, that's so romantic, but like so tragic at the same time. God, I don't know what he's gonna do. I don't know if he's gonna kiss her. I don't know if he's gonna kill, like, he's not gonna kill her because we know how somehow this leads to Junko. So he can't kill her. But, like, fuck. I don't know if he's gonna try. I don't know if something Ryoko or Junko's gonna say is gonna stop. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't fucking know what's gonna happen. I don't think Mukuro interferes. I think Junko wants Matsuda to make this decision. I mean, fuck. That's why I understand now. This is my despair. That would also explain the brainwashing, because it was Mukuro. It wasn't even Junko. Up till this point. It was literally Mukuro just playing as Junko. God, there's so much in this that makes so much sense. Jesus Christ. I finally understood it as well. The thumping in my chest, I finally remembered. The moment I gave up on everything, I remembered my feelings towards Matsuda. It must have been just another part of the scenario that Junko and Oshima set up. In order for me to despair, she had me finally remember. That's why I've decided to end things once and for all. Matsuda finally stopped in front of my eyes. The distance between us was to the point where our feet almost touched. And while I felt the incessant heartbeat in my chest, I also felt dizzy, blood rushing to my head as I looked at him. Then, as if about to embrace me, he lifted his hands and squeezed them around my neck. Oh my god. He's literally gonna fucking choke her out. I was done for. What the fuck is about to happen? There must have been no other way. After all, Junko and Oshima was an important existence for him. Seeing as how no one loved Matsuda more than I did, I understood that. But to the very end, I wanted to die in the world of Matsuda and I. That was my hope, which embraced me to the very end. Oh my god, this is so good. This writing is so good. It's kind of reminding me of Danganronpa 2, Alter Ego Junko's last words. Like, oh god. And like how you know, she could embrace that like finality because she no longer had to hope, and like her whole like fucked up shit. It's Junko. Oh, this is killing me. Is this also for Junko and Oshima? With that faint hope in my chest, I timidly sputtered out the words, no. This is for my own sake. His calm response came as a surprise to me. I've already accepted this. I've already completely accepted Ryoko Otonashi's end. You don't need to remember anything anymore. I could feel his warm breath on my cheeks as he spoke those gentle words. This is the end of everything. I know. After all, this has nothing to do with me, right? Oh my god, I'm not crying yet, but holy fuck, those lines were powerful. He then calmly began to put force into his hands, but I wasn't in pain. In fact, the warmth coming from the palms of his hands felt comfortable. It was possible I was even smiling. Thump, 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 thump. My raging heartbeat, my entire body heating up, intense ringing in my ears. I guess I was at least somewhat scared, but Matsuda's face in front of me seemed to become gentle as he released his intense stress. What a line given the context. Also, I love how, like, it's obviously, like, from a feeling of love, but I love how she's, like, kind of getting turned on while getting choked, because that is the most, like, Junko thing ever, even though Ryoko is Ryoko, even in this moment. As I burned that face into my memory, I slowly closed my eyes. I'll be done at this rate. Everything will be over. It'll finally not be over. Okay, there's two possibilities here. Fuck, fuck, fuck. Is this the part where he just can't bring himself to do it? Does he let go? Or is this the part in Junko's plan where Mukuro kills Matsuda? Could you fucking imagine? It's one or the other. Either he just let go straight up because he can't bring himself to do it, or fucking Mukuro just yeets him right now. I don't even know which would be better, to be honest. The cliche one or the fucking wild one. Junko laugh? What the fuck? It came suddenly, out of nowhere. That familiar, sinister laugh began to echo within my ears. Come on, I've said it before, haven't I? I'd murder you bitches one day. I've come to fulfill that promise. Don't tell me you've forgotten. That giddy voice forced my eyes open, and all I saw was Matsuda's shocked face. Behind him, I could see a black silhouette, the ultimate despair. Walking up from behind Matsuda, she slowly approached me. Once she was close enough to line up with him, the face within the shadow finally presented itself to me. I could remember it now. That face was me. That's right. Ryoko Otonashi didn't exist from the start. Fuck everyone. Oh my god. I think that's the craziest prediction I've made in the history of this channel that I've gotten right. Oh my god. Because you guys know I'm a crazy prediction potato. You guys have seen it. It's happened a lot in this series. This series begs you to predict shit. But of all the predictions I've ever made, in all the different series I've made, I feel like I'm wrong more often than not. But this time, fuck everyone. No, seriously, like not actually. No, the fact that nobody spoiled me on this, fucking thank you. You guys are great. I know barely anyone's watching these videos, but holy shit, I can't believe it. I mean, I can, because I feel like it's been kind of obvious for a while, but I can't believe that I was right when I predicted that. Hysterical, isn't it? It's so despair-inducing that it's hilarious. That voice that shouted out was my own. By the very end, I remembered. I finally remembered everything. And at the same time, everything crumbled apart. The scenery I had perceived to be an immutable existence easily and completely crumbled apart. Oh my god. Bro, what the fuck is gonna be in these last 6%? It was like that sandcastle. No matter how elaborate or stable it appeared to be, it crumbled apart so easily. Just like that sandcastle, my entire body's skin, muscle, bones, all like dry sand, crumbled apart, and I faded away. Everything crumbled away into nothing. My world ended, and her world was recreated. That would be my Ryoko Otonashi's final moment. And just like that, everything finally returned back to normal. Oh my god. Oh my god. Or rather, God tier. God tier. God tier chapter. What the fuck? We're here. We're 94% into the story. It fucking happened. This might be the last chapter that we're about to read. I'm not sure. I don't know how many chapters. I feel like I actually did see it at some point, but I have no memory if we did. I don't even remember how many chapters were in volume 1, to be honest. This is it. I want to say there were 16, so maybe this isn't the last chapter. I have no clue. Holy shit. What the fuck? I mean, what can I say? Well, here's what I can say. Anyone watching, and I know there's not a lot of people listening because not a lot of people watch these videos. Please, please, please. Maybe not in the comments because I know YouTube isn't a big fan of like links and shit necessarily, especially from commenters that aren't like the channel owner. But anyone who's watching this video, if you want to hit me up on Discord and give me some like sick fucking fan art. Oh my god. If it exists, I need fan art of that scene. With Ryoko and Matsuda's shocked face and like Junko coming in. It's like all three of them. Fuck, I need that. Honestly, just in general though, like I fucking want, like, I'd love for you guys to send me some fan art of like the Ryoko, Junko, everything. And also if there's like a fan art that's like in good like 1280 720 or 1920 1080. I have no idea. I'm probably just going to, when this first goes up, I'll probably just use like an 8, like the normal thumbnail I've been using for Danganronpa 0. But if you all have like a really good fucking piece of fan art that's in like close enough like a good dimension for like a YouTube thumbnail, I'd love to fucking use it, some fan art as the fucking thumbnail for the DR0 finale, because something that isn't like overtly like spoilerific, but like, I don't know. Like, if you guys have something in mind that isn't like too crazy, but something that's like really cool. Maybe just something with like Ryoko and Matsuda or whatever, but like, that would be cool. Whatever the case may be though, I'm just like, I'm taking all of that in right now. That was insane. I mean, I saw it coming, but that didn't mean I was ready. And the fucking sandcastle analogy, bringing it back to when Junko slash... I'll just say Junko and Matsuda were kids. Like, that shit was crazy. And it makes sense. It makes sense that you know, a childhood kind of friend of the ultimate despair would fucking become the fucking ultimate fucking like neurologist. Like, that just makes sense. Like, on so many levels. And you add in the fucking Oedipus complex nonsense that's mixed into that, and you combine the fact that scene was presumably Mukuro acting as Junko, and that's just like insane to think about, that was Mukuro, most likely was Mukuro playing Junko, which just makes everything so much fucking more insane. There's just so many layers to this. Anyways, fucking hell, let's jump into chapter 14. You know how I feel about this. This is incredible, and like, I don't think there's gonna be much else. What's crazy is we still don't even know what Matsuda's fate is. Like, are they gonna just kill him, or does something else happen? I don't know. Probably kill him, but we'll see. The strength within those two hands gradually weakened as energy left his entire body. Then Matsuda finally relinquished his grip on the girl. Clang. A sound rang out from the ground. A knife engraved with the crest of Hope's Peak Academy, tainted with blood. The blood dripped down around it, and it soon developed into a sizable pool of red. Yep, Yep, of course. A warm sensation filled his stomach. Matsuda then returned his eyes to the girl. Listen, you bitch. He was visibly suffering as he spoke. But before I die, you should know that what I told you was a lie. There wasn't any kind of treatment. I've been preventing you from remembering anything at all. I already know that, her voice replied. The mouth of the girl who responded began to curl into what must have been a smile. Oh my god, this third person is like so crazy because Ryoko just is no more. This is awesome. Smiling from the joy of the knife that had pierced Matsuda's flesh. And that's when Matsuda confirmed it. The person known as Ryoko Otonashi no longer existed. I was only supposed to appear in Junko's likeness in front of the real one, but I accidentally got caught by Madurai at one point, but I wasn't really seen by anyone else. Obviously. Matsuda coughed up blood along with a voice full of resentment. Anybody who knew would be able to tell easily. Even if you are sisters, you're still two different people. Besides, the Enoshima who came to me was clearly the real one. Oh, interesting. Okay, so that confirms that. That's really interesting. Oh my god! That picture's insane. I want to go back real quick to the previous page though. So that's interesting. So that was Junko. Interesting. But oh, the fucking knife too. That's so clever. Everything about this is so clever. Oh my god, that picture though, baby. I mean, hey, I don't always need fan art. Sometimes I get official art. Holy shit. I mean, yeah. Hi, Junko. I mean, it makes sense. Jesus Christ. As if annoyed by the words different people, Ikusaba turned her eyes from him and instead set them on only the girl as she spoke. That's why for this scenario, while I was disguised as Junko, the real Junko conducted her own private plans as well. Only at the time she didn't even realize it, meaning Junko had deceived even herself. So, in the end, it all went just as planned, from the very beginning to now. Now it was Matsuda's turn to talk to the girl. As he spoke, his consciousness began to fade, to the point where just standing appeared to be a struggle. Even so, his frail gaze continued to focus on her. But there's one thing I don't understand. Why you planned such a painful turn of events? Why you went so far as to have me take away your memory in order to escape the school's investigation? It sounds horrible to got through, but even so, you pushed through it. Why? Failing to hold his stance, he finally sat down, but Matsuda continued his question, resolute on obtaining his answer. Was it to pull me? Who was always thinking of you into despair? Finally, the girl began to move. She gently caressed his face with her hand in an almost loving way and sat down next to him, paying no attention to the blood pooling beneath. Yeah, that's the least of her concerns. She then drew Matsuda's face, whose eyes were beginning to fade, toward her own. I'll tell you. Oh, sorry, Anne whispered. I'll tell you. The whisper was filled with a gentle, caring love, but it quickly and drastically changed. Are you fucking kidding me? Don't be so full of yourself. There's no way in hell I'd go through this pain-in-the-ass mess just to bring you into despair. What the hell is wrong with you? She is a demon. As soon as she finished those words, the girl immediately thrust her hand into Matsuda's face, causing him to collapse into the pool of blood he had created. You're saying you really don't give a damn, huh? Matsuda muttered as he lay on his back, gazing toward the ceiling. Staring down at him from directly above was the girl. Their faces were close enough for the tips of their noses to touch. But even so, his gaze didn't line up with hers, as it had begun to falter. I guess I don't have anything to do with this. That really was the case after all. As he lay in the pool of blood, an unnatural warmth developed in the back of his throat, but it soon faded away. How long have you felt that way? Has it been since we were kids? I mean, according to her, that's all. Despair is all she's known since the day she was born. She cried tears of total despair. The girl's face warped into a cruel smile. What if I told you that the reason your mom got that way was because of me? What kind of face would you show me? Nani? Chotomate, what the fuck? How does she keep getting... She can't keep getting away with this. She can't keep getting away with this. You can't keep getting away with this. You can't keep getting away with it. What? Pain overwhelmed his expression as if a sharp needle had passed through his heart. You're not serious, are you? As he spoke with a quivering voice, flecks of blood splattered from his mouth onto the girl's face. Oh god, she's gonna get turned on by the fact that he's coughing blood while in full despair over the fact, bro, this is so ridiculous. She ruined this man. She fucked up this man's mother. And like this plan that just was so long term. And not to mention, on top of everything else, she also essentially gave this man a borderline Oedipus complex that she would then utilize with herself. What the fuck? She somehow gets worse. The more we go, she somehow keeps getting more fucked up. I don't understand how this is possible. She is the GOAT, but she is also literally the worst. This is amazing. It stood out even more than ever. Her cruel, inhumane smile. Answer me! As Matsuda grew more and more grave, Enoshima seemed to fall into ecstasy. Of course she's coming. Without giving any response, she just continued to watch as she cupped her chin in her hand. I swear to God, she's gonna fucking tongue him as he's dying, just to give him ultimate despair after she becomes the person he hates the most in this world. This girl's the devil. She is literally the worst. And there's been a lot of worst girls, but there is no one like Junko. This is stupid. Matsuda's soul was falling into the very depths of despair. His life's meaning had been thoroughly and decisively violated and then rejected. He had completely given into despair and had nothing else. Please, tell me. His clinging stutters barely formed into words at all. Come on, what's the answer, Junko Enoshima? That was the end. Without ever hearing his answer, Yasuke Matsuda died. Completely submerged in despair, he died. What is there to say? I mean, Junko is the GOAT and she's the worst, and she's proven truly that you can be both. I don't even know what to say, to be honest. This is amazing. This is unbelievable. I don't even have anything to say about this at this point. I don't think I'm going to have much of a discussion in the outro. I feel like I've gotten my thoughts out as we've gone, and I don't even think I want to do an outro. I think when I finish this story, I'm just going to fucking leave, because, this is insane. This is amazing. This story was awesome. I don't necessarily think it was a perfect story, but I mean, it did everything it needed to do perfectly. So, for all intents and purposes, in regards to this canon, it's everything it needed to be and more. Jesus Christ. Let's just keep going. We're so close to the end. Chapter 15, maybe the final chapter. I don't know how many times I'm going to keep saying that. Once she confirmed it was over, Junko Enoshima slowly got up. For a while longer, though, she ceased her actions and looked down at him. She stared at the Yasuke Matsuda who had experienced his last breath not too long ago. There's no way this would have nothing to do with you. Somewhere in her murmuring voice lay a hint of sadness. After all, you were more important than anyone else to me. Those were her true feelings. Yasuke Matsuda was an especially important existence for Junko Enoshima. Ever since they were children, he always stood up for her. He continued to love her unconditionally, and above all else, just being by his side made her heart feel warm. And that shows you, even Junko, there's a person somewhere deep, 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 deep within the depths of her own despair. And it's especially tragic because that only made her want to torture Matsuda all the more because she loved him, because of how, because of her existence and how her craving for despair, the despair she wants to inflict upon others and herself. You know, it is her expression, in many ways, Junko's expression of love is her despair. And in her weird, super fucked up way, she wants people to taste that despair in their mouth, and that's her way of showing them how much she cares about them. And I think the classic, like, you know, I love you so much you make me sick type line that she has from Makoto in Danganronpa 2 is right on the money, right? It's the same thing here, but even stronger. Because of how much she cares for Matsuda, she wanted him to suffer in the absolute worst possible way and give him the absolute worst ending possible because of how much she loves him. And that's how insanely fucked up the character Junko Enoshima truly is. But that's what makes her the GOAT. And she killed off that existence with her own hands. She stepped on it, forced it past the brink of despair, and brutally slaughtered it. This is... But that's what Enoshima had desired. She loved him so much. That irreplaceable existence, more important than anyone else. She was obsessed with him almost to the point of insanity, always wanting to be within his embrace. Even living in a world with him and only him would be fine, and that was the Ryoko Otonashi. And by losing that incredible existence, just how much despair would she fall into? She nurtured her love for Matsuda all this time, just to get a taste of that feeling, seeing her loved one become swallowed by despair during his last moments. She essentially lived to experience that spectacle. Yeah, it was one of her ultimate fantasies, right? Like killing the man she loved the most. It's kind of like her own death is another one of her ultimate fantasies. It's the despairs that you can only taste once in a lifetime, essentially. Finally getting to taste that despair. Incredible! It was beyond anything she could have hoped for, ever hoped for. This is so dismal, so amazing. My chest is gonna tear open. This is true self-loathing. I absolutely want to die. This is the despair that comes from losing someone you love, and it's even stronger because she's the reason that she lost him. While Enoshima's entire being was assaulted by that despair, she kicked Yasuke Matsuda's body with all of her strength. Amazing, 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 amazing! Absorbed in her screams, she kicked the corpse of the one she so dearly longed for with no mercy whatsoever. All the while, flowing from her eyes were a continuous stream of tears. What a character. And as those tears of delight Agony and confusion overwhelmingly poured out of her. She kicked her beloved's corpse until it was a lump of meat that barely held any resemblance to its original form. Okay, I have a tiny bit of water left, and I'm going to gulp it right now because I'm going to need it for this. I have a tiny bit left if I need more, but okay. Here we go. Woohoo! 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 Oh boy, here we go. There's a lot more. Water. Here we go. Pooh! 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 Junko Enoshima. Chapter 16. When Kyoko Kirigiri opened her eyes, she found herself in the infirmary. The scene outside the window was that of nightfall. It seemed that at some point the day had turned to evening as she slowly rose from the bed. Glad to see you're awake. A man's voice could be coming from near the could be heard, I guess, coming from near the window. It belonged to Hope Speak Academy's headmaster, Jin Kirigiri. I wonder if this is the final chapter. I know I've said that a few times now, as I keep saying, but from Kyoko's perspective at this point would actually make sense, because Ryoko and Matsuda are dead. You were completely knocked out. Has work finally caught up to you? How long have I been asleep? You wouldn't stay put, so I had the school's physician give you something a little stronger. It should still be in effect, so things may still be a bit hazy. You should probably just relax for now. Her consciousness and sensations were certainly still a bit dim. Following orders from him was frustrating, but there wasn't much one could do against the effects of medicine. With no other choice, Kyoko lay back down on the bed. And then she remembered. She remembered the moment when Mukuro Ikusaba came to her aid. Yep, that was the last we saw of Kyoko. When she was cornered by the Madurai brothers, Ikusaba appeared at just the right time and saved her. But why did she save her? Sure, they were classmates, but the two of them had hardly interacted with each other at all before that. Yes, it's because you're part of the plan. What plan? Well, you could watch some of my earlier videos on this series for that. If for some reason you're one of the 3 people who actually find my Danganronpa 0 read-along and haven't actually watched my reactions to my Let's Play of Danganronpa 1 and 2 yet. But they're all in the playlist. It's in the description of the video, my full playlist of all my Danganronpa videos. If for some reason you are finding this also in the future, there's probably a lot more Danganronpa videos in the playlist. Who knows, maybe I've even finished Danganronpa by the time you find this, for all I know. When she, putting that aside, however, there was a more pressing issue at hand. The girl that was with her when attacked by the Madurai brothers, Junko Enoshima? What happened to her? She turned the question over in her mind, in a manner deserving of the Kirigiri name, and then... It appears that Enoshima was rescued by Ikusaba as well. I'll save you the trouble of overthinking things. She's being temporarily hospitalized in the faculty building's infirmary. Although the silver lining is, well, how should I say this? Due to the shock from the whole ordeal, it seems that she's recovered her memory. Her memory? She'll soon return to her regular school schedule, but it seems that she doesn't remember anything from the span where she had lost her memory. Because of that, there have been numerous confusing issues to deal with, but everything has been taken care of. She'll be fine. Oh, I bet. I bet. I see. A classmate's return should have been a joyous occasion, but something didn't feel right. It was like something was being glossed over. Also, there's something important I have to discuss with you. Yeah. There's a lot of things I could talk about there with Junko Enoshima and her memory and all that nonsense, but they were able to just, just smooth it over, keep going, and We all know where that story goes. His following words then completely brushed off Kyoko's doubt. I'll be closing the investigation request on Izuru Kamakura. Kyokyo immediately rose up from the sudden report. Why all of a sudden? Her question was one of urgency. Sorry, but I can't really talk about that. What are you... Okay, fine. I wasn't satisfied with the contents of your performance. How does that work for you? Recognizing his lack of acknowledgement, Kyoko scrunched her eyebrows inquisitively. Then, what happened to Kamakura? Speaking of which, just today, new steering committee members were elected to replace the previous ones. Don't avoid the subject. Due to the change in members, measures involving confidential information have shifted as well. No matter what your opinion might be, I don't really have the freedom to be carelessly discussing sensitive information. The statement was a clear refusal, and with it, all Kyoko could do was respond with a murmur of resentment. Why are you telling me this now? Alright, in return, how about I disclose a separate piece of information to you? That is, if your pride as a detective would allow it? His words were almost like a challenge. He'd been like that for quite a while. It wouldn't have been surprising if the sentence, "You were just being used all along," left his mouth as a confession. His words seemed straightforward enough, but she had a feeling that the reason behind it all couldn't possibly be so simple. But what was causing that feeling? Was it the intuition of a detective? Or was it because he was her father? She immediately shook her head, shaking off that last train of thought before firmly responding, yeah, it definitely can't be because, oh, no, I don't have any, deep-rooted, faith in my father or anything stupid like that. No. I understand. I don't mind giving up on the request. However, if you're sharing, there is one thing I would like to know. Kirigiri watched her from beside the window in patient silence. What happened to Yasuke Matsuda and the Madurai brothers? A moment of quiet passed, and Kirigiri let out a hefty sigh. He then turned his gaze away and began walking toward the infirmary door. Kyoko's eyes followed his movements carefully. He stopped in front of the door, and without turning back to face her, he spoke. Expulsion. That's how it seems they were dealt with. His words felt heavy, and a hint of anger could be heard among them as well. Not only that, it was the intent of the new steering committee members as well to strictly conceal the incident and keep it under wraps. Because of their involvement in this mess, Matsuda and Madurai were expelled. And it seems others will follow as well. You weren't going to stop them? All I did was receive the report. They're not even on campus anymore. Even you would probably have difficulty in tracking them down. And I'm assuming the new steering committee members are people high up in government that Junko has control over, because we know that she has people in every facet. She worked out finding people in high places, getting them under her fit thumb, and then making sure that she would basically be able to, the people that could prevent the tragedy wouldn't prevent the tragedy. And she planned this out her whole life. Anyways, letting out another huge sigh, Kirigiri began to grind his teeth. Although it sure was a convenient development, convenient to the point where you'd think it was all manipulated into happening from the shadows. Quickly dropped his head as if he regretted what he had just said. Even without any formal request, I'll still be looking into it. Kyoko's words, aimed toward her father's back, were full of determination. As he heard them, he responded without turning to face her. Detectives can't do anything until an incident ends. They're useless until all the victims show up. That's a trait that exists within even the most skilled detectives. But I think you're different. There are qualities within you that exceed those of a detective. And I say this from witnessing your various talents up to this point. I think I'll be keeping those qualities in mind. What are you trying to say? Kyoko's voice was stiff and cold. He's trying to say he's proud of you and he thinks you're amazing, but he's saying it in the most professional, not a father way he can, because he knows that in your heart, he's not your father, even if he wishes that wasn't the case. There's no need to understand it. Kirigiri looked over his shoulder toward Kyoko, who was tight-lipped in anger, an expression on her face that seemed close to tears. One last thing. You're free to investigate on your own. However, if you endanger yourself or attempt to bypass the school rules, I won't offer you any school treatment, special treatment. Just be prepared for that. If you can't keep that in mind, you'll be leaving the school. Without waiting for a response from Kyoko, Kirigiri left the infirmary. Upon entering the hallway, he let out yet another heavy sigh. Even though he was just trying to keep her away from the incident for her own good, it still pained him. Then again, she wasn't the type to just happily listen to orders. There wasn't anything to be done about that. The situation was already out of his hands. Just like the former steering committee members who had disappeared, their replacements held considerable power compared to others involved with Hope's Peak Academy. Immediately after their inauguration, the termination of the Kamakura project was formally announced. It was their way of saying that the individual known as the Ultimate Hope never existed. It wasn't a very surprising development. Kirigiri was to keep up appearances as the core of the school, and the symbol of hope that was raised and nurtured by Hope's Peak Academy was abandoned unceremoniously. All according to plan for Junko, I'm sure. Following this, the new steering committee members' further decisions and plans have been immediate and quick, and through a variety of methods they were able to fully conceal the incident, as though aiming to please some outside party. As Kirigiri continued down the hallway, he began to pick up speed. Moving at a brisk pace, he inadvertently glanced towards the window. The idea that everything had ended was not present. Rather, it felt like the beginning of a new turn of events, and most likely, not a good turn of events. A horrible incident was going to occur at this school, and then consume the world. No one would be able to stop that, and that's obviously the reserve course mass suicide, which leads into everything else, all the fuck shit around the world. From that prediction, Kirigiri felt an unexpected chill creep along his body, but his decision was already set in stone. For the sake of the students, it might be time to speed up his plan, a place where even the new steering committee members would not catch wind of. There was no other choice than the old school building. That thought in mind, Kirigiri's brisk walk became a dash, though he didn't realize it. Indeed, he didn't notice any of the ways his body was reacting. His mouth began to faintly turn downward. He must have been able to sense it at his core. The talent who held the ability to throw the world into chaos was lurking somewhere in Hope's Peak Academy. That might have been why he was trembling, in conscious recognition of that terrible existence. But even so, he had no way of knowing what lay ahead. Eventually, that talent would inflict despair across the world, and that very despair would trample even himself. But Jin Kirigiri was still completely unaware. Holy shit. Okay, we're literally at 98%, so this is probably the last chapter, but we still do have one more chapter. Are we doubling back to Junko? Could be Mukuro, potentially. That's pretty much it. Unless it's Kyoko again, like after she gets back, whatever. But whatever, let's just jump in. That was a great, like, Kyoko and Jin thing. A very ominous, foreshadowing of the events to come that we're well familiar with. Back from her long period of absence, the first thing taken care of upon returning to her dorm room was applying her makeup. As she looked at her reflection in the mirror, Junko Onoshima saw despair. God, Matsuda sure had horrible taste. It's so funny because she's so hot. But of course that's what she thinks. She's perfect. Reflected in the mirror was a simply plain, normal, and uninteresting female high school student. The funny thing is, like, and I say that about Ryoko, like, both Ryoko's normal look and Junko are both hot, but whatever. To think something like this was of use to despair. Maybe he picked up his awful taste from his mother or something. Jesus. Reliving the sense of a loved one in despair while applying makeup, she next began to tidy up the room, beginning with picking off the numerous sticky notes saying, "This is my room," and then Ryoko Otonashi's memory notebook. Looking at the notebook brought back further memories of Yasuke Matsuda. Remembering him, she could feel her chest tightening. Consumed by disgust at what she did to him, she was compelled to cry and scream out, "I want to forget this already. I just want to get rid of this notebook." Aha! All the more reason to keep this on hand. Oh my god, she's the GOAT. with an indescribable expression somewhere between woe and excitement. She flipped through the pages. Suddenly her hand stopped. On that page were a ridiculous number of portraits of Yasuke Matsuda's likeness. These horrible drawings are surprisingly heartbreaking. How exciting! As expected, it seemed that her heart's wound wouldn't heal anytime soon. That's how it should be, she thought. After all, she went so far out of her way and lost her memory to taste this despair. Although, speaking of which, that wasn't the only reason she had her memory lost. There was another goal in mind as well. The reason was within the notebook resting in Enoshima's hands. Reports on Matsuda's methods in manipulating her memory were recorded in that very notebook. That was her other reason. Oh my god! And that's a setup for that's a setup for both games. I hate this. This is actually a brilliant story. Memory manipulation was required for the final stage of her plan to inflict further despair. That's why she wanted to test it, and on herself. She arranged for Matsuda to take away her memory, making her a test subject for that very memory manipulation. I guess this is all I can expect from one little experiment. Just becoming forgetful is only half of what I need. I guess Matsuda didn't try hard enough. Well, once I take care of it, I'm sure it'll turn out perfectly. Taking over a loved one's impassioned research, I'll be sure to put it to use in the most despair-inducing way possible. Her other reason for using Matsuda was to test her talents on a wider scale. For that experiment, she anticipated each of Matsuda's actions, and then proceeded to move freely within her own convenience. That went for others involved as well. She anticipated the results of everything, and it allowed for her to manipulate those events at will. By doing this, she finished her perfect scenario. It was the same for even Enoshima herself. She was able to predict even her own amnesiac actions and experience the greatest taste of despair in return. Yeah, and we're just like fully confirming it, that like everything is perfect. This is so great. This is so great that we got like the full like confirmation that Junko is just the ultimate analyst, a fucking super genius, like psychopath, like whatever the fuck, that she's this smart. Anyways, yoo-hoo, I'm back! Suddenly a strange voice rang out as the door to the room flew open. Standing in the doorway was a blonde-haired girl, the one who had disguised herself as Junko Enoshima, Mukuro Ikusaba. A huge smile formed on her face, sheer glee in her expression. Were you startled? I was hoping to surprise you a bit in commemoration for your return. Do you think I'm an idiot or something? Cutting her off, Enoshima shot back with frigid words. Are you trying to make things worse or something? What are you gonna do if someone sees you dressed like that? Are you gonna take responsibility for it? Hell, are you even capable of doing that? Oh my god, and she's so fucking evil to her sister, which makes sense based on what we know. I'm sorry. As if completely withered, her shoulders drooped. Also, you barely even look like me. Are you even trying? Seriously, tell me, do I really look that fucking stupid? Do I? But I followed your written instructions completely. Oh, I get it. You can't do anything unless you're told how. You really are a moron. I'm really sorry. As she hurried to get changed, Ikusaba's eyes were completely blurred with tears. God, and you still have that ridiculously skinny body. If you have time to join a freaking military, you should try getting a body that men would actually like. Jesus Christ. This is insane. I'm sorry. Please don't be mad anymore. Seeing her sister's shoulders tremble like a puppy that had been scolded, Enoshima scoffed and turned away. Jeez. I've really got to rethink how I'm going to use that one. And we all know what she decided on, and this goes directly into dialogue that she has in Danganronpa 1, so that's right on the money as well. Besides having her sister disguise herself to fool Enoshima's amnesiac self, there was, as with the other plans, one other goal. It was another experiment. Mukuro Ikusaba's disguise was a key component in her future plan to inflict further despair. Just as memory manipulation was an experiment, Mukuro Ikusaba's disguise was also an experiment. No, there were more. Forcing high school students into mutual killing and showing that visual to others in order to spread despair. That was, once again, also an experiment. Every part was an experiment put into practice, killing birds, several birds with one stone. That's what the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy meant to Junko and Oshima. Furthermore, the murders of the steering committee members were a part of it as well. Besides forcing the location of Kamakura out of them, Enoshima wanted the men replaced. Although the experiment this time around overall felt like it was missing some excitement. Was it too psychotic? I wonder if I can make it even more excitingly psychotic. I guess forcing mutual killing right away is too stiff. Maybe I should make it a game of some sort. Yeah, perfect. That way the murderers will get way more dramatic. Oh my god, the meta. Of course, a mascot would be necessary as well. For this experiment, those who were brainwashed were dressed almost like cartoon characters. That was no good. Just tasteless, she thought. There were tons of room for improvement. Well, so... Abruptly, Ikusaba's voice spoke out. Huh? What do you want? Enoshima clicked her tongue as she listened to what her sister had to say. Why didn't you give Izuru Kamakura over to the reserve course? Enoshima clicked her tongue even louder at the question. Man, you really are dense. If they got to kill Kamakura, then they'd be satisfied just like that. That's no good. I want their unease and anger and dissatisfaction to build up, and then just explode all at once. Then they'll show their worth as a mob, right? That's what they're there for. That's their part to play in this world. Oh, I see. A bitter smile revealed itself on Ikusaba's face as she nodded in understanding. Then, does that mean Kamakura is no longer needed? I don't really have anything in mind for him right now, but, well, nothing's going to happen if we just leave him be anyway. Besides, he's not anything like an ultimate hope anymore. He's someone who's embracing the depths of despair. Again, this was another result that followed her prediction. In the end, everything moved along with Enoshima's will. Everything fell perfectly in line with what Enoshima's ambition was. Well, this little experiment allowed me to taste despair, so I guess I could say it was a success. But a small part of her had hoped for something else. She had almost hoped that the plan she worked so hard to concoct would fall into pieces despairingly. Okay, so it wasn't like that this time, but maybe someday I'll be able to taste that flavor of despair. She had even sown some seeds for the purpose of that possibility occurring. I really am amazing, aren't I? Without thinking, she erupted into laughter. Why, I've even prepared for the outcome where I myself would lose. I'm the very definition of a mastermind, don't you think so, sister? Yes, but Junko, the way you're talking... I got tired of that personality. How many fucking years have you been my sister? She took on a more violent persona as she shouted at Ikusaba, but she soon gave up on that as well and began staring toward the window. What's wrong? Despite Ikusaba's worried voice, Enoshima continued to stare out the window. Outside was a parade, and like a surging tidal wave, that parade was flowing around the school's dorms. I wonder what everyone in class is thinking, looking at this right now. I wonder if they're experiencing the death of their hope. Suddenly, Enoshima stood up and spoke with an energized voice. All right, now that the tension is off the charts, let's go head to class. Our beloved classmates are waiting for us. Okay. And just like that, Junko Enoshima returned to her school life for the time being. It annoyed her to be friendly with the others, but soon enough the spice of unbelievable despair would scatter about. Actually, I'm pretty freaking excited. Alright, let's enjoy the rest of our school life to its fullest. After all, that was her true motive. The blueprints were laid out. The flag was raised. Mutual killing, Old school building, brainwashing, reserve course, ultimate hope, class 78, steering committee, headmaster, memory manipulation, Mukuro Ikusaba's disguise, Monokuma. It all begins here. The plan to create the strongest despair imaginable all starts here. The world's most despair-inducing incident begins here. Predicting what'll happen is simple, but not doing so would be far more interesting. In the end, an even stronger taste of despair would arise. But can I hold off for that long? What should I do? Just picturing that despair caused Enoshima's heart to jump. Because the ultimate, known as Junko Enoshima, wished for despair above anything else. Would find hope in despair more than anyone else. Find hope? What the hell? Me? Find hope? Realizing that she had been embracing hope, Junko Enoshima fell into despair. That's so good too, because that's the remnant of Ryoko Otonashi, and the picture is perfect there because it implies that deep down Ryoko still exists within her. Someone who never existed in the first place, someone she created for that. But the fact that she still, you know, that her love for Matsuda and all of that, I mean, even though, you know, Junko does love her, but it's all proof that she is something more than just, you know, the ultimate despair. And the fact that she wants to find hope in despair more than anyone else makes her fall into despair. That's just such great writing. It's so stupid, but it's amazing. Holy shit. Look at that. Look at that. 100. Oh, that's beautiful. That is 100 right there. Oh my god. We're just gonna bask in this picture of Junko Ryoko for a little bit. That just, you know, just bask in my glory, so to speak, because I was right, and I feel good about it. Just a few moments. We'll take this off the screen momentarily, but oh my god, that was unbelievable. What a freaking story, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone else here. This was insane. And take one last good look, because we are officially clocking out of Danganronpa 0 right now. Holy shit. And now I've just canceled out of it. Unfucking-leavable. What a crazy story. What a beautiful story. What a cruel story in many ways, but we've reached the end of Danganronpa 0, and it was such a satisfying tale in my opinion. I loved every bit of it from the beginning to the end. I thought it was an incredible story that, like I said, I loved it. Like, through and through, I thought this was an amazing story that only got better, really, as we went on. Like, I think it was really interesting from the beginning, but I think it only got more and more compelling over time, and I thought the ending was amazing, and it sets the stage for all the things to come in Danganronpa 1, Danganronpa 2, and potentially things that we haven't even gotten to yet, which I think it really says a lot about this story, and it's, I mean, such a tremendous fucking experience. I loved every second of it. I thought it was an amazing story, and I'm excited to read Danganronpa even if I don't know what to expect on that, because I know it's Mukuro-centric, and I know it's an alternate telling of events. Like, it's if, so something changes. So I can't wait for that, especially since we got Mukuro in this story, and given it's a Mukuro story, we almost have to also get more Junko in that. So, like, it's just really exciting on every front. But this was an amazing episode, and this was an amazing ride. And, you know, these eight Danganronpa 0 recordings were a hell of a lot of fun. I hope those of you who did read them, you know, listen to them, whatever, I guess listen to them with me, really enjoyed them, and now you have this resource that if you ever want to, kind of do a Danganronpa Zero audiobook, I basically have these 8 parts, these 8 sections of the story. So if anyone ever wants to, not read it themselves, but just listen to someone read it or read it with someone, they get to do that with me, which is pretty cool. So I can be that resource since it is a little hard to get, and I have the link to one of the better versions of it in the description. So if anyone finds this, they'll be like, oh yeah, I can read it myself and come back for the video, or if they want to read it with me, they could also do that. You have multiple options with these videos, so I'm glad to have gotten these up for other fans of the Danganronpa series, or people that might discover Danganronpa after me and might be like, hey, oh yeah, this guy, that's really cool. And obviously because there is very few people who have done Danganronpa Zero on YouTube. So I'm glad to be one of those people to kind of be like, hey, I did videos on Danganronpa Zero, and you can check out these videos. Jesus Christ, that was a huge firework. That was crazy. Given the fact that I was talking, that probably did come up in the video. But yeah, I'm really excited to continue on. And like I said, we're going to read the Danganronpa If story next, and then we're going to get into Danganronpa another episode, Ultra Despair Girls, which I'm very excited to actually get back into a Danganronpa game. We're kind of doing a little bit of everything. We have a little more reading, then we have a game, and then we wrap up this section of Danganronpa with the Danganronpa 3 anime. So we're going to do some classic Shark reactions as well. So a little bit of everything in this section, and that's going to be really fun. But I can't wait for all 3 of those. I'm excited for the If story, I'm excited for UDG, and I'm definitely excited for DR3. And then after that, we will return to Fate to do the second route, to do Unlimited Blade Works. Then we're going to do Danganronpa V3, and then we will at that point be done with Danganronpa, and then I'll get to the Heaven's Feel route of Fate, and then after that, we'll move on to other like LP related stuff that isn't Fate or Danganronpa, so that'll be cool. But that's as it pertains to Danganronpa. We're going to do the If story next, then UDG, then DR3, then we're going to take a break for more Fate, and then when we return from the second route of Fate, then we're going to do DRV3. We're going to do Danganronpa V3. So that is the plan currently, and I am looking forward to all of it. So this is pretty much it. Like I said, I don't really have too much recap to do of Danganronpa Zero, because I feel like I adequately expressed my thoughts on how amazing this was. The tragedy of the characters of Ryoko Otonashi and Yasuke Matsuda is insane and amazing. I love both of those characters. This made me love Junko Enoshima even more. I was so excited for the Mukuro we got, and it did not disappoint. I love Junko. I love Mukuro. I can't wait for the Mukuro If story that we're going to be doing next. That's going to be crazy. Hopefully a lot shorter, but also mainly just because I think for a lot of you just want me to get to the game and the anime. I get that. But at the same time, I also don't mind getting a ton of Mukuro. And I still have theories. Like, I know the If story's a Mukuro thing, whereas I don't know what the game or the anime are about. And I have theories. I have fucking crazy theories about what the game could be about and what the anime could be about. And I can't wait to share those theories when we get to the game and anime respectively. Really, when we get to the first episode of the game before I load it up, I have a lot of theories about what the game could be. And because of those theories, I do have thoughts, and I think it's going to be really interesting to like kind of share those with you. My theories of what the game could be, what the anime could be. Because I know V3 is like a whole other thing, so I don't even like from my understanding, like DR3 is kind of the end of the main story or whatever. But we'll get to all of that when we get to it. But for now, I had an absolute blast. I hope you all had an absolute blast. But I'm gonna cut it off here. So, anyways, that's really all I got to say. So, if you want to support the channel, my Patreon's down below in the description. Obviously, if you want to read, this is the end of the last episode, so you would have probably figured this out by now. But if you want to go get your own copy of Danganronpa Zero, I have the link to the copy that I used in these videos down below in the description, as well as, like I said, my links to my Patreon and Discord are down there if you want to check those out. And yeah, without any further ado, it's time for me to bid you adieu. the Flaming Shark and Danganronpa Zero signing out. Hope you all have a wonderful, fantastical day, and I'll see you next time with another video. Thanks for watching. Peace. But also, arrivederci.